Hello, and for real this time, welcome as Zenith Players presents the Belle's Stratagem by Hannah Cowley. I am PJ, and that was my fault. All of the actors you'll be hearing tonight are volunteering their time and their talent from their homes to bring a little bit of entertainment into your home. We want to thank them all very much for joining us. I'd also like to thank our friend, your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare, for hosting this on his pages. Check out his website at shakespeareapproves.com and his Patreon, patreon.com/Shakespeare. You can find out more about him at the aforementioned website or by visiting his Facebook page, Shakespeare Approves, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare. You'll have links to visit him as well as some of our other performer friends in the comments of this video. As always, I want to acknowledge and thank all of the medical professionals and essential workers who have been working tirelessly to keep us all as healthy and safe and vaccinated as possible. If you're interested in more information about our totally volunteer organization, check out our website, zenithplayers.com, and feel very free to go check out our very attractive donations page. 100% of all donations go towards production costs, which currently consist of the various subscriptions that allow for these readings to happen, but will soon go to acquiring performance rights and set pieces and other materials for live performance. If you would like to read with us in future projects, as we are not stopping these readings anytime soon, just send us an email at casting@zenithplayers.com. We will get you on board. And join us next week for Allison's House by Susan Glassford. For now, relax and enjoy George Levine as Savile, Erin Klarner as Mrs. Racket, Andrew Gellos as Sir George, Emily Brennan as Lady Frances, Steve Anderson as Courtall, Mira Singer as Flutter, Stu Fisher as Villers, Paula K. Long as Miss Ogle and Kitty Willis, Andrea Atwood as Crowquill, the first gentleman, Gibson and the tradesman, Justine D'Souza as Mr. Hardy, Frenchman and the second gentleman, Titania Lovett Spence as Mrs. Flagg, Polly and Dick, Kara Schramm as the porter, lady and mountebank, Sandra Levine as Silver Tongue in the third mask, with Shakira Searle as Doricourt, and Emily Durango as Letitia in the Belle's Stratagem. Act 1, Scene 1. Enter Savile, followed by a servant.
Lincoln's Inn. Well, but where to find him? Now I am in Lincoln's Inn. Where did he say his master was?
He only said, in Lincoln's Inn, sir.
Well, that's pretty. And your wisdom never inquired at whose chambers?
Sir, you spoke to the servant yourself.
If I was too impatient to ask questions, you ought to have taken directions, blockhead.
Enter Courtall.
Or leave a kiss within the cup, and I'll not ask for wine.
Courtall! Bid him keep the horses in motion, and then inquire at the chamber round.
Exit the servant.
What the devil brings you to this part of the town? Have any of the long robes, handsome wives, sisters, or chambermaids?
Well, perhaps they have, but I came on a different errand. And had thy good fortune brought thee here half an hour sooner, I'd have given thee such a treat.
I'm sorry I missed it. What was it?
I was informed a few days since my cousins Fallow were coming to town and desired earnestly to see me at their lodgings in Warwick Court, Holborn. Away drove I, painting them all the way as so many babies. They came from the farthest part of Northumberland, had never been in town, and in course were made up of rusticity, innocence, and beauty.
Well,
After waiting 30 minutes, during which there was a violent bustle, in bounced 5 fallow damsels, 4 of them maypoles. The 5th, nature by way of variety, had bent in the Aesop style. But they all opened at once like hounds on a fresh scent. Oh, Cousin Courtall, how do you do, Cousin Courtall? Lord, cousin, I am glad you are come. We want you to go with us to the park and the plays and the opera and Almack's and all the fine places. The devil, thought I, my dears, may attend you, for I am sure I won't. However, I heroically stayed an hour with them, discovered the virgins were all come to town in the hopes of leaving it wives. Their heads full of night sparrow nights, pops, and adventures.
Well, how did you get off?
Pleaded a million engagements. However, conscience twitched me, and so I breakfasted with them this morning. Afterwards, squired them to the gardens here. It's the most private place in town. And then took a sorrowful leave, complaining of my hard fortune that obliged me to set off immediately for Dorsetshire.
I congratulate your escape. Cortal at Almanacs with 5 awkward country cousins. Why, your existence as a man of gallantry could never have survived it.
Death and fire. Had they come to town like the rustics of the last age to see Pauls, the lions, the waxwork at their service? The cousins of our days come up ladies, with the knowledge they glean from magazines and pocketbooks, fine ladies, laugh at the bashfulness of their grandmothers, and boldly demand their entrees in the first circles.
Where can this fellow be? Come, give me some news. I have been at war with woodcocks and partridges these 2 months, and am a stranger to all that has passed out of their region.
Oh, enough for 3 gazettes. The ladies are going to petition for a bill that during the war, every man may be allowed 2 wives.
'Tis impossible they should succeed, for the majority of both houses know what it is to have one.
Gallantry was blackballed at the coterie last Thursday. Prudence and chastity voted in.
Aye, that may hold till the camps break up. But have you no elopements, no divorces?
Divorces? Absolutely not. And the Commons doctors are starving. So they are publishing trials of Crim Khan with all the separate evidences at large, which they find has always a wonderful effect on their trade. Actions tumbling in upon them afterwards like mackerel at Gravesend.
What more?
Nothing. For weddings, death, politics, I never talk of. But whilst my hair is dressing, prithee, Seville, how came you into town? Well, all the qualified gentry are playing at popgun on Coxheath, and the country overrun with hares and foxes.
I came to meet my friend Doracourt, who, you know, is lately arrived from Rome.
Arrived? Yes, faith, has cut us all out. His carriage, his liveries, his dress, himself are the rage of the day. His first appearance set the whole ton in a ferment, and his valet is besieged by levies of tailors, habit makers, other ministers of fashion, to gratify the impatience of their customers for becoming a la mode de Doricourt. The beautiful lady frolicked the other night with 2 sister countesses, insisted upon his waistcoat for muffs. Their snowy arms now bear it in triumph about town, the heart-rending affliction of all our beaux garçons.
Indeed. Well, those little gallantries will soon be over. He's on the point of marriage.
Marriage? Marriage? Doricourt on the point of marriage? 'Tis the happiest tidings you could have given, next to his being hanged. Who is the bride-elect?
I never saw her, but 'tis Miss Hardy, the rich heiress. The match was made by the parents, and the courtship begun on their nurse's knees. Master used to crow at Miss, and Miss used to chuckle at Master.
Oh, then by this time they care no more for each other than I do for my country cousins.
I don't know that. They have never met since thus high, and so probably have some regard for each other.
Never met? Odd.
A whim of Mr. Hardy's. He thought his daughter's charms would make more forcible impression if her lover remained in ignorance of them till his return from the continent.
Enter Savile's servant.
Mr. Doracourt, sir, has been at Councillor Pleadwell's and gone about 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Zounds! I've been 5 minutes too late all my life. A good morrow, Cortal. I must pursue him.
Promise to dine with me today. I have some honest fellows.
Can't promise. Perhaps I may. See there, there's a bevy of female Patagonians coming down upon us.
My lord, then, it must be my strapping cousins. I dare not look behind me. Run, man, run!
They exit. Act 1, Scene 2. Enter the porter.
Hap, what sneaking devil art thou?
Enter Crowpool.
So, I suppose you are one of Monsieur's customers too. He's above stairs now, overhauling all his honor's things to a parcel of them.
No, sir, it is with you, if you please, that I want to speak.
Me? Well, what do you want with me?
Sir, you must know that I am the gentleman who writes the tete-a-tete in the magazines.
Oh, what, you are the fellow that ties folks together in your sixpenny cuts that never meet anywhere else?
Oh, dear sir, excuse me. We always go on foundation. And if you can help me to a few anecdotes of your master, such as what Marchioness he lost money to in Paris, who is his favorite lady in town, or the name of the girl he first made love to at college, or any incidents that happened to his grandmother or great aunts, a couple will do, by way of supporters. I'll weave a web of intrigues, losses, and gallantries between them that shall fill 4 pages, procure me a dozen dinners, and you, sir, a bottle of wine for your trouble.
Oh, I heard the butler talk of you when I lived at Lord Tinkett's. But what the devil do you mean, a bottle of wine? You give him a crown for a retaining fee.
Oh, sir, that was for a lord's amours. A commoner's are never but half. Why, I've had a baronet's for 5 shillings, though he was a married man and changed his mistress every 6 weeks.
Don't tell me. What signifies a baronet or a bit of a lord who, maybe, was never further than sun and fun round London? We have traveled, man. My master has been in Italy, over the whole island of Spain, talked to the Queen of France, and danced with her at a masquerade. Aye, and such folks don't go to masquerades for nothing but mum. Not a word more. Unless you'll rank my master with a lord, I'll not be guilty of blabbing his secrets, I assure you.
Well, sir, perhaps you'll throw in a hint or two of other families where you've lived. That may be worked up in something. And so, sir, here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shillings.
Well, that's honest. To tell you the truth, I don't know much of my master's concerns yet. But here comes the Monsieur and his gang. I'll pump them. They have trotted after him all round Europe, from the Canaries to the Isle of Wight.
Enter a Frenchman and a tradesman.
Well then, you have showed us all?
All en vérité, monsieur. You have seen everything. Serviteur, serviteur. Here comes one autre curious Englishman, and that's 1 autre guinea pour moi.
Enter Savile.
Allons, monsieur, this way. I will show you such things you never see begar in England. Velvets by Lemos, suits cut by Verdu, trimmings by Grosset, embroidery by Detanville.
Puppy, where is your master?
Zounds, you chattering, frog-eating dunderhead. Can't you see a gentleman? 'Tis Mr. Saville.
Monsieur Saville, je suis mort de peur. 10,000 pardons. Excusez mon erreur. Et permettez-moi you to conduct to Monsieur Doricoeur. He'll be too happy à vous voir.
The Frenchman and Savile exit.
Step below a bit. We'll make it out somehow. I suppose a slice of sirloin won't make the story go down worse.
Exit the porter and folk. Act 1, Scene 3. An apartment at Doricourt's. Enter Doricourt.
I shall be too late for St. James. Bid him come immediately.
Enter the Frenchman and Savile.
Monsieur Saville.
Exit the
Most fortunate, my dear Savile, let the warmth of this embrace speak the pleasure of my heart.
Well, this is some comfort after the scurvy reception I met within your hall. I prepared my mind as I came upstairs for a bonjour, a grimace, and an adieu.
Why so?
Judging from the master of the rest of the family, what the devil is the meaning of that flock of foreigners below with their parchment faces and snuffy whiskers? What, can't an Englishman stand behind your carriage, buckle your shoe, or brush your coat?
Still, my dear Savile, still. Englishmen make the best soldiers, citizens, artisans, and philosophers in the world, but the very worst footmen. I keep French fellows and Germans as the Romans kept slaves, because their own countrymen had minds too enlarged and haughty to descend with a grace to the duties of such a station.
A good excuse for a bad practice.
On my honor, experience will convince you of its truth. A Frenchman neither sees, hears, nor breathes, but as his master directs, and his whole system of conduct is comprised in one short word: obedience. An Englishman reasons, forms opinions, cogitates, and disputes. He is the mere creature of your will. The other, a being conscious of equal importance in the universal scale with yourself, and is therefore your judge, while he wears your livery, and decides on your actions with the freedom of a censor.
And in this defense of a custom I have heard you execrate, together with all the adventitious manners imported by our travelled gentry.
Ah, but that was at 18. We are always very wise at 18. But consider this point. We go to Italy, where the sole business of the people is to study and improve the powers of music. We yield to fascination and grow enthusiasts in the charming science. We travel over to France and see the whole kingdom composing ornaments and inventing fashions. We condescend to avail ourselves of their industry and adopt their modes. We return to England and find the nation intent on the most important objects: polity, commerce, war, with all the liberal arts employ her sons. The latent sparks glow afresh within our bosoms. The sweet follies of the continents imperceptibly slide away, while senators, statesmen, patriots, and heroes emerge from Vertu of Italy and the Fourberie of France.
I may as well give it up. You had always the art of placing your faults in the best light, and I can't help loving you, faults and all. So, to start a subject which must please you, when do you expect Miss Hardy?
Oh, the hour of expectation is past. She is arrived, and I this morning had the honour of an interview at Pledwell's. The writings were ready, and in obedience to the will of Mr. Hardy, we met to sign and seal.
Has the event answered? Did your heart leap or sink when you beheld your mistress?
Faith, neither one nor t'other. She is a fine girl as far as mere flesh and blood goes. But
what?
Why, she's only a fine girl. Complexion, shape, and features, nothing more.
Is that not enough?
No! She should have spirit, fire, l'air enjoué, that something, that nothing which everybody feels and which nobody can describe in the resistless charmers of Italy and France.
Thanks to the parsimony of my father, that kept me from travel. I would not have lost my relish for true, unaffected English beauty to have been quarreled for by all the belles of Versailles and Florence.
Thou hast no taste. English beauty, 'tis insipidity. It wants zest. It wants poignancy, Frank. Why, I have known a French woman, indebted to nature for no one thing but a pair of decent eyes, reckon in her suite as many counts, marquises, and petit maîtres as would satisfy 3 dozen of our first-rate toasts. I have known an Italian marquisina make 10 conquests in stepping from her carriage, and carry her slaves from one city to another, whose real intrinsic beauty would have yielded to half the little grisette that pace your mall on a Sunday.
And has Miss Hardy nothing of this?
If she has, she was pleased to keep it to herself. I was in the room half an hour before I could catch the colour of her eyes, and every attempt to draw her into conversation occasioned so cruel an embarrassment that I was reduced to the necessity of news, French fleets, and Spanish captures with her father.
So, Miss Hardy, with only beauty, modesty, and merit, is doomed to the arms of a husband who will despise her.
You are unjust. Though she has not inspired me with violent passion, my honour secures her felicity.
Come, Dorcourt. You know very well that when the honor of a husband is locum tenens for the heart, His wife must be as indifferent as himself if she is not unhappy.
Never moralize without spectacles. But, as we are upon the tender subject, how did you bear Touchwood's carrying Lady Frances?
You know I never looked upon her with hope, and Sir George is every way worthy of her.
Ah, l'amour d'Angloise, a philosopher even in love.
Come, I detain you. You seem dressed at all points, and of course have an engagement.
To St. James's. I dine at Hardy's and accompany them to the masquerade in the evening. But breakfast with me tomorrow, and we'll talk of our old companions. For I swear to you, Sal, the air of the continent has not effaced one youthful prejudice or attachment.
With an exception to the case of ladies and servants.
True, there I plead guilty. But I've never found any man with whom I could cordially take to my heart and call friend, who was not born beneath a British sky, and whose heart and manners were not truly English.
Exit Doracourt and Savile. Act 1, Scene 4. Apartment of Mr. Hardy's. Villers seated on a sofa reading. Enter Flutter.
Pierre, have you seen Mrs. Racket? Miss Hardy, I find, is out.
I have not seen her yet. I made a voyage to Lapland since I came in. Lady at her toilette is as difficult to be moved as a Quaker. What events have happened in the world since yesterday? Have you heard?
Oh, yes. I stopped at Tattersall's as I came by, and there I found Lord James Jessamy, Sir William Wilding, and Mr. But now I think of it, you shan't know a syllable of the matter, for I have been informed you never believe about one half of what I say.
My dear fellow, someone has imposed upon you most egregiously. I never believe 1/10 part of what you say. That is according to the plain literal expression. But as I understand you, your intelligence is amusing.
That's very hard now, very hard. I never related a falsity in my life unless I stumbled on it by mistake. And if it were otherwise, your dull, matter-of-fact people are infinitely obliged to those warm imaginations which soar into fiction to amuse you. For positively, the common events of this little dirty world are not worth talking about, unless you embellish them. Here comes Mrs. Racket. Adieu to weeds, I see, all life.
Enter Mrs. Racket.
Enter, madame, and all your charms. Pierre has been abusing your toilette for keeping you so long, but I think we are much obliged to it, and so are you.
How so, pray? Good morning to you both. Here's a hand apiece for you.
How so? Because it has given you so many beauties.
Delightful compliment. What do you think of that, fellows?
He and his compliments are alike. Showy, but won't bear examining. So you brought Miss Hardy to town last night?
Yes, I should have brought her before, but I had a fall from my horse that confined me a week. I suppose in her heart she wished me hanged 12 times an hour.
Why?
Well, had she not an expecting lover in town all the time? She meets him this morning at the lawyer's. I hope she'll charm him. She's the sweetest girl in the world.
Vanity, like murder, will out. You've convinced me. You think yourself more charming?
How can that be?
No woman ever praises another unless she thinks herself superior in the very perfection she allows.
Nor no man ever rails at the sex unless he is conscious he deserves their hatred.
Thank you, Flutter. I'll owe you a bouquet for that. I am going to visit the newly married Lady Frances Touchwood. Who knows her husband?
Everybody.
Is there not something odd in his character?
Nothing, but that he is passionately fond of his wife, and so petulant is his love that he opened the cage of a favorite bullfinch and sent it to catch butterflies because she rewarded its song with her kisses.
Intolerable monster! Such a brute deserves...
Oh, nay. This is your sex now. Give a woman but one stroke of character, and off she goes like a ball from a racket. Sees the whole man, marks him down for an angel or a devil, and so exhibits him to her acquaintance. This monster, this brute, is one of the worthiest fellows upon earth. Sound sense and a liberal mind. He dotes on his wife to such an excess that he quarrels with everything she admires and is jealous of her tippet and nosegay.
Oh, less love for me, kind Cupid. I can see no difference between the torment of such an affection and hatred.
Oh, pardon me.
Pardon me. Inconceivable difference. Inconceivable. I see it as clearly as your bracelet. In the one case, the husband would say, as Mr. Snapper said t'other day, "Zoons, madam, do you suppose that my table and my house and my pictures," apropos de bots, this was the divinest plague of Athens sold yesterday at Langford's. The dead figures so natural you would have sworn they had been alive. Lord Primrose bid 500. 6, said Lady Carmine. 1,000, said Ingot the Nabob. Down went the hammer. A rouleau for your bargain, said Sir Jeremy Jingle. And what answer do you think Ingot made him?
Why, he took the offer.
Sir, I would oblige you, but I buy this picture to place in the nursery. The children have already got Whittington and his cat. 'Tis just this size, and they'll make good comparison.
Well, I protest that's just the way now. The nabobs and their wives outbid one at every sale, and the creatures have no more taste.
There again, you forget this story is told by Flutter, who always remembers everything but the circumstances and the person he talks about. 'Twas Ingot who offered a rouleau for the bargain, and Sir Jeremy Jingle who made the reply.
Egad, I believe you are right. Well, story's as good one way as t'other, you know. Good morning. I am going to Mr. Crotchet's concert. On my way back, shall make my bow at Sir George's.
I will venture every figure in your tailor's bill. You make some blunder there.
Done. My tailor's bill has not been paid these 2 years, and I'll open my mouth with as much care as Mrs. Bridget Button, who wears cork plumbers in each cheek and never hazards more than 6 words for fear of showing them.
Flutter exits.
'Tis a good-natured, insignificant creature, in everywhere and cared for nowhere. Ah, there's Miss Hardy returned from Lincoln's Inn. She seems rather chagrined.
Then I leave you to your communications.
Enter Letitia, followed by her maid.
Jew, I am rejoiced to see you so well, madam, but I must tear myself away.
Oh, don't vanish in a moment.
No, inhuman! You are 2 of the most dangerous women in town. Staying here to be cannonaded by 4 such eyes is equal to a rencontre with Paul Jones or a midnight march to Omar. They'll swallow the nonsense for the sake of the compliment.
Yeah.
Order Duquesne never to come again. He shall positively dress my hair no more. And this odious silk, how unbecoming it is. I was bewitched to choose it. Did you ever see such a fright as I am today?
Yes, I have seen you look much worse.
How can you be so provoking? If I do not look this morning worse than ever I looked in my life, I am naturally a fright. You shall have it which way you will.
Oh, just as you please. But pray, what is the meaning of all this?
Men are all dissemblers, flatterers, deceivers. Have I not heard 1,000 times of my air, my eyes, my shape, all made for victory? And today, when I bent my whole heart on one poor conquest, I have proved that all those imputed charms amount to nothing. For Doricourt saw them unmoved. A husband of 15 months could not have examined me with more cutting indifference.
Then you return it like a wife of 15 months. Be as indifferent as he.
Aye, but there's the sting. The blooming boy who left his image in my young heart is at 24 improved in every grace that fixed him there. It's the same face that my memory and my dreams constantly painted to me, but its graces are finished and every beauty heightened. Oh, how mortifying to feel myself at the same moment his slave and an object of perfect indifference to him.
How are you certain that this was the case? Did you expect him to kneel down before the lawyer, his clerks, and your father to make an oath of your beauty?
No, but he should have looked as if a sudden ray had pierced him. He should have been breathless, speechless, for, oh, Caroline, all this was I.
I'm sorry you were such a fool. Can you expect a man who has courted and been courted by half the fine women in Europe to feel like a girl from a boarding school? He is the prettiest fellow you have ever seen, and in course bewilders your imagination. But he has seen a million pretty women, child, before he saw you, and his first feelings have been over long ago.
Your raillery distresses me, but I will touch his heart or never be his wife.
Absurd and romantic. If you have no reason to believe his heart pre-engaged, be satisfied. If he's a man of honor, you'll have nothing to complain of.
Nothing to complain of? Heavens, shall I marry the man I adore with such an expectation as that?
And when you have fretted yourself pale, my dear, you will have mended your expectation greatly.
Yet, I have one hope. If there is any power whose peculiar care is faithful love, that power I invoke to aid me.
Enter Mr. Hardy.
Well now, wasn't I right? I, Letty, I, Cousin Racket, wasn't I right? I knew 'twould be so. He was all agog to see her before he went abroad, and if he had, he'd have thought no more of her face, maybe, than his own.
Maybe, not half so much.
Aye, maybe so, but I see into things, exactly as I foresaw. Today he fell desperately in love with the wench. He.
Indeed, sir. How did you perceive it?
That's a pretty question. How do I perceive everything? How did I foresee the fall of corn and the rise of taxes? How did I know that if we quarreled with America, Norway deals would be dearer? How did I foretell that a war would sink the funds? How did I forewarn Parson Homily that if he didn't some way or other contrive to get more votes than Rubric, he'd lose the lectureship? How did I— But what the devil makes you so dull, Letitia? I thought to have found you popping about as brisk as the jacks of your harpsichord.
Surely, sir, 'tis a very serious occasion.
Oh, girls should never be grave before marriage. How did you feel, cousin, beforehand? I.
Feel? Why, exceedingly full of cares.
Did you?
I could not sleep for thinking of my coach, my liveries, my chairman, the taste of clothes I should be presented in, distracted me for a week, and whether I should be married in white or lilac gave me most cruel anxiety.
And is it possible that you felt no other care?
And pray, of what sort may your cares be, Mrs. Letitia? I begin to foresee now that you have taken a dislike to Dorycourt.
Oh, indeed, sir, I've not.
Then what's all this melancholy about? Aren't you going to be married? And what's more, to a sensible man? And what's more, to a young girl, to a handsome man? And what's all this melancholy for, I say?
Why? Because he is handsome and sensible, because she's over head and ears in love with him, all which, it seems, your foreknowledge had not told you a word of.
Fie, Caroline!
Welcome. You tell me what's the matter, then. If you don't like him, hang the signing and sealing, he shan't have ye. And yet I can't say that neither, for you know that estate, that cost his father and me upwards of £80,000, must go all to him if you won't have him. If he won't have you, indeed, 'twill all be yours. All that's clear, engrossed upon parchment, and the poor dear man set his hand to it whilst he was a-dying. Ah, said I foresee you'll never live to see 'em come together, but their first son shall be christened Jeremiah after you, that I promise you. But come, I say, what is the matter? Don't you like him?
I fear, sir, if I must speak, I fear I was less agreeable in Mr. Dorycourt's eyes than he appeared in mine.
There you are mistaken, for I asked him, and he told me he liked you vastly. Don't you think he must have taken a fancy to her?
Why, really, I think so, as I was not by.
My dear sir, I am convinced he has not. But if there is spirit or invention in women, he shall.
Right, girl, go to your toilette.
It is not my toilette that can serve me, but a plan has struck me, if you will not oppose it, which flatters me with brilliant success.
Oppose it? Not I indeed. What is it?
Why, sir, it may seem a little paradoxical, but as he does not like me enough, I want him to like me still less, and at our next interview endeavour to heighten his indifference to dislike.
Who the devil could have foreseen that?
Heaven and earth! Letitia, are you serious?
As serious as the most important business of my life demands.
Why endeavour to make him dislike you?
Because 'tis much easier to convert a sentiment into its opposite than to transform indifference into tender passion.
That may be good philosophy, but I'm afraid you'll find it a bad maxim.
I have the strongest confidence in it. I am inspired with unusual spirits, and on this hazard willingly stake my chance for happiness. I am impatient to begin my measures.
Exit Letitia.
I cannot see the end of this, sir. Nothing less than your penetration can do that, I'm sure. I can't stay now to consider it. I'm going to call on the Ogles, and then to Lady Frances Touchwood's, and then to an auction. Then, I don't know where, but I shall be home time enough to witness this extraordinary interview. Goodbye.
Exit Mrs. Rackers.
Well, 'tis an odd thing. I can't understand it, but I foresee Letty will have her way, and so I shan't give myself the trouble to dispute it.
He exits. End of Act 1. Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Doracourt and Sir George.
Married! You, whom I heard in Paris say such things of the sex, are in London a married man.
The sex is still what it ever has been since Le Petit Moral banished substantial virtues, and rather than have given my name to one of your high-bred fashionable dames, I have crossed the line in a deep fire ship and married a Japanese.
Yet you have married an English beauty, yea, and a beauty born in high life.
True, but she has a simplicity of heart and manners that would have become the fair Hebrew damsels toasted by the patriarchs.
Why, thou art a downright matrimonial Quixote. My life on it. She becomes as a mere town lady in 6 months, as though she had been bred to the trade.
Common. No, sir. Lady Frances despises high life so much from the ideas I have given her that she'll live in it like a salamander in fire.
Ah, that the circle dans la Place Victoire could witness thy extravagance. I'll send thee off to Saint-Effreux tonight, drawn at full length and coloured after nature.
Tell him then to add to the ridicule that Touchwood glories in the name of husband, that he has found in one English woman more beauty than Frenchmen ever saw, and more goodness than French women can conceive.
Well, enough of description. Introduce me to this phoenix. I came on purpose.
Introduce? Oh, aye, to be sure. I believe Lady Frances is engaged just now, but another time. How handsome the dog looks today.
Another time? But I have no other time. Steph, this is the only hour I can command this fortnight.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it with all my soul. So then, you can't dine with us today. That's very unlucky.
Oh, yes. As to dinner, yes, I can, I believe, contrive to dine with you today.
Pshaw, I didn't think on what I was saying. I meant supper. You can't sup with us.
Why, supper will be rather more convenient than dinner. But you are fortunate. If you had asked me any other night, I could not have come.
Tonight? Ah, Gad, now I recollect we are particularly engaged tonight, but tomorrow night.
Why, look ye, Sir George. 'Tis very plain you have no inclination to let me see your wife at all. So here I sit. There's my hat, and here are my legs. Now I shan't stir till I have seen her. And I have no engagements. I'll breakfast, dine, and sup with you every day this week.
Was there ever such a provoking wretch? But to be plain with you, Dorincourt, I and my house are at your service. But you are a damned agreeable fellow, and 10 years younger than I am. And the women, I observe, always simper when you appear. For these reasons, I had rather, when Lady Frances and I are together, that you should forget we are acquainted, further than a nod, a smile, or a howdier.
Very well.
It is not merely yourself, propria persona, that I object to, but if you are intimate here, you will make my house still more the fashion than it is, and it is already so much so that my doors are of no use to me. I married Lady Frances to engross her to myself, yet such is the blessed freedom of modern manners that, in spite of me, her eyes, her thoughts, and conversation are continually divided amongst all the flirts and coxcombs and fashion.
To be sure, I confess that kind of freedom is carried rather too far. 'Tis hard one can't have a jewel in one's cabinet, but the whole town must be gratified with its lustre. He shan't preach me out of seeing his wife, though.
Well, now, that's reasonable. When you take time to reflect, Dorincourt, I always observe you decide right, and therefore I hope...
Sir, my lady desires.
I am particularly engaged.
Oh, Lord, that shall be no excuse in the world. Lead the way, John. I'll attend your lady.
Dorincourt exits following the servant.
What devil possessed me to talk about her? Here, Dorincourt. Dorincourt!
Enter Mrs. Racket and Miss Ogle, followed by the servant.
Acquaint a lady that Mrs. Racket and Miss Ogle are here.
The servant exits.
I shall hardly know Lady Frances. 'Tis so long since I was in Shropshire.
And I'll be sworn you never saw her out of Shropshire. Her father kept her locked up with his caterpillars and shells and loved her beyond anything. But a blue butterfly and a petrified frog.
Well, 'twas a cheap way of breeding her. You know, he was very poor, though a lord, and very high-spirited, though a virtuoso. In town, her pantheons, operas, and robes de coeur would have swallowed his seaweeds, moths, and monsters in 6 weeks. Sir George, I think, thinks his wife a most extraordinary creature. He has taught her to despise everything like fashionable life, and boasts that example will have no effect on her.
There's a great deal of impertinence in all that. I'll try to make her a fine lady to humble him.
That's just the thing I wish.
Enter Lady Frances.
I beg 10,000 pardons, my dear Mrs. Racket. Miss Ogle, I rejoice to see you. I should have come to you sooner. But I was detained in conversation by Mr. Dorincourt.
Pray make no apology. I am quite happy that we should have your ladyship in town at last. What stay do you make?
A short one. Sir George talks with regret of the scenes we have left, and as the ceremony of presentation is over, will, I believe, soon return.
Surely, heck, he can't be so cruel. Does your ladyship wish to return so soon?
I have not the habit of consulting my own wishes, but I think if they decide we shall not return immediately, I have yet hardly formed an idea of London.
I shall quarrel with your lord and master if he dares think of depriving us of you so soon. How do you dispose of yourself today?
Sir George is going with me this morning to the mercer's to choose a silk and then...
Choose a silk for you? Sir George chooses your laces too, I hope. Your gloves, your pin cushions.
Madam.
I am glad to see you blush, my dear Lady Frances. These are strange homespun ways. If you do these things, pray keep them secret. Lord bless us. If the town should know your husband chooses your gowns.
You are very young, my lady, and have been brought up in solitude. The maxims you learned among the wood nymphs in Shropshire won't pass current here, I assure you.
Why, my dear creature, you look quite frightened. Come, you shall go with us to an exhibition and an auction. Afterwards, we'll take a turn in the park and then drive to Kensington. So we shall be home by 4 to dress. And in the evening, I'll attend you to Lady Brilliant's masquerade.
I shall be very happy to be of your party if Sir George has no engagement.
What? You stand so low in your own opinion that you dare not trust yourself without Sir George. If you choose to play Darby and Joan, my dear, you should have stayed in the country. It's an exhibition not calculated for London, I assure you.
What I suppose, my lady, you and Sir George will be seen pacing it comfortably round the canal, arm in arm, and then go lovingly into the same carriage, dine tete-a-tete, spend the evening at piquet, and so go soberly to bed at 11. Such a snug plan may do for an attorney and his wife, but for Lady Frances Touchwood, 'tis as unsuitable as linsey woolsey or a black bonnet at the festino.
These are rather new doctrines to me, but my dear Mrs. Racket, you and Miss Ogle must judge of these things better than I can. As you observe, I am but young and may have caught absurd opinions. Here is Sir George.
Enter Sir George.
Death, another room full.
My love, Mrs. Racket and Miss Ogle.
Give you joy, Sir George. We came to rob you of Lady Frances for a few hours.
A few hours?
Oh, yes. I am going to an exhibition and an auction in the park in Kensington and 1,000 places. It is quite ridiculous, I find, for married people to be always together. We shall be laughed at.
I am astonished. Mrs. Racket, what does the dear creature mean?
Mean, Sir George? What she says, I imagine.
Why, you know, sir, as Lady Frances had the misfortune to be bred entirely in the country, she cannot be supposed to be versed in fashionable life.
No, heaven forbid she should. If she had, madam, she would never have been my wife.
Are you serious?
Perfectly so. I should never have had the courage to have married a well-bred fine lady.
Pray, sir, what do you take a fine lady to be that you express such fear of her?
Being easily described, madam, as she is seen everywhere, but in her own house. She sleeps at home, but she lives all over town. In her mind, every sentiment gives place to the lust of conquest and the vanity of being particular. The feelings of wife and mother are lost in a whirl of dissipation. If she continues virtuous, 'tis by chance, and if she perseveres her husband from ruin, 'tis by her dexterity at the card table. Such a woman I take to be a perfect fine lady.
And you, I take to be a slanderous cynic of 32. 20 years hence, one might have forgiven such a libel. Now, sir, hear my definition of a fine lady. She is a creature for whom nature has done much and education more. She has taste, elegance, spirit, understanding. In her manner, she is free. In her morals, nice. Her behavior is undistinguishingly polite to her husband and all mankind. Her sentiments are for their hours of retirement. In a word, a fine lady is the life of conversation, the spirit of society, the joy of the public. Pleasure follows her wherever she appears, and the kindest wishes attend her slumbers. Make haste, then, my dear Lady Frances. Commence, fine lady, and force your husband to acknowledge the justness of my picture.
I'm sure 'tis a delightful one. How can you dislike it, Sir George? You painted fashionable life in colors so disgusting that I thought I hated it, but On a nearer view, it seems charming. I have hitherto lived in obscurity. 'Tis time that I should be a woman of the world. I long to begin. My heart pants with expectation and delight.
Come then, let us begin directly. I am impatient to introduce you to that society which you were born to ornament and charm.
Adieu, my love. We shall meet again at dinner.
Sure, I am in a dream. Fanny,
Sir George?
will you go without me?
Will you go without me? What a pathetic address. Why, sure you would not always be seen side by side like two beans upon a stalk. Are you afraid to trust Lady Frances with me, sir?
Heaven and earth, with whom can a man trust his wife in the present state of society? Formerly, there were distinctions of character among ye. Every class of females had its particular description. Grandmothers were pious, aunts discreet, old maids censorious. But now aunts, grandmothers, girls, and maiden gentlewomen are all the same creature. A wrinkle more or less is the sole difference between you.
That maiden gentlewomen have lost their censoriousness is surely not in your catalogue of grievances.
Indeed it is, and ranked amongst the most serious grievances. Things went well, madam, when the tongues of 3 or 4 old virgins kept all the wives and daughters of a parish in awe. They were the dragons that guarded the Hesperian fruit, and I wonder they have not been obliged by Act of Parliament to resume their function.
And pensioned, I suppose, for making strict inquiries into the lives and conversations of their neighbours.
With all my heart, and empowered to oblige every woman to conform her conduct to her real situation. You, for instance, are a widow. Your air should be sedate, your dress grave, your deportment matronly, and in all things an example to young women growing up about you, instead of which you are dressed for conquest. Think of nothing but ensnaring hearts, a coquette, a wit, and a fine lady.
Oh, bear witness to what he says. A coquette, a wit, and a fine lady? Who would have expected such a eulogy from such an ill-natured mortal? Valor to a soldier, wisdom to a judge, or glory to a prince is not more than such a character to a woman.
Sir George, I see, languishes for the charming society of a century and a half ago, when a grave squire and a still graver dame, surrounded by a sober family, formed a stiff group in a mouldy old house in the corner of the park.
Delightful serenity, undisturbed by any noise but the cawing of rooks and the quarterly rumbling of an old family coach on a state visit, with the happy intervention of a friendly call from the parish apothecary or the curate's wife.
And what is the society of which you boast? A mere chaos in which all distinction of rank is lost in a ridiculous affection of ease, and every different order of beings huddled together as they were before the creation. In the same select party, you will often find the wife of a bishop and a sharper, of an earl and a fiddler. In short, 'tis one universal masquerade, all disguised in the same habits and manners.
Mr. Flutter.
Here comes an illustration. Now I defy you to tell from his appearance whether Flutter is a privy councillor, or a mercer, a lawyer, or a grocer's prentice.
Flutter.
Oh, just which you please, Sir George, so you don't make me a Lord Mayor. Ah, Mrs. Racket, Lady Frances, your most obedient. You look... Now hang me if that's not provoking. Had your gown been of another colour, I would have said the prettiest thing you ever heard in your life.
Pray give it to us.
I was yesterday at Mrs. Bloomer's. She was dressed all in green, no other colour to be seen but that of her face and bosom. So, says I, my dear Mrs. Bloomer, you look like a carnation just bursting from its pod.
And what said her husband?
Her husband? Why, her husband laughed and said a cucumber would have been a happier simile.
But there are husbands, sir, who would rather have corrected than amended your comparison. I, for instance, should consider a man's complimenting my wife as an impertinence.
Why, what harm can there be in compliments? Sure, they are not infectious. And if they were, you, Sir George, of all people breathing, have reason to be satisfied about your lady's attachment. Everybody talks of it. That little bird there, that she killed out of jealousy, the most extraordinary instance of affection that ever was given.
I kill a bird through jealousy. Heavens! Mr. Flutter, how can you impute such a cruelty to me?
I could have forgiven you if you had.
Oh, what a blundering fool! No, no. Now I remember. 'Twas your bird, Lady Frances. That's it, your bullfinch, which Sir George, in one of the refinements of his passion, sent into the wide world to seek its fortune. He took it for a night in disguise.
Is it possible? Oh, Sir George, could I have imagined it was you who deprived me of a creature I was so fond of?
Mr. Flutter, you are one of those busy, idle, meddling people who, from a mere vacuity of mind, are the most dangerous inmates in a family. You have neither feelings nor opinions of your own, but, like the grass in a tavern, bear about those of every blockhead who gives you his. And because you mean no harm, think yourselves excused. Through broken friendships, discords, and murders are the consequence of your indiscretion.
Vacuity of mind. What was the next? I'll write down this sermon. 'Tis the first I have heard since my grandmother's funeral.
Come, Lady Frances, you see what a cruel creature your loving husband can be, so let us leave him.
Madam, Lady Frances shall not go.
Shall not, Sir George. This is the first time such an expression.
My love, my life.
Don't imagine I'll be treated like a child, denied what I wish, and then pacified with sweet words.
Bullfinch, that's an excellent subject. Never let it down.
I see plainly why you would deprive me of every pleasure, as well as of my sweet bird, out of love, barbarous man.
'Tis well, madam. Your resentment of that circumstance proves to me what I did not before suspect, that you are deficient both in tenderness and understanding. Tremble to think the hour approaches in which you would give worlds for such proof of my love. Go, madam, give yourself to the public, abandon your heart to dissipation, and see if, in the scenes of gaiety and folly that await you, you can find a recompense for the lost affection of a doting husband.
Sir George.
Lord, what a fine thing it is to have the gift of speech. I suppose Sir George practices at Coachmaker's Hall or the Black Horse in Bond Street.
He is really angry. I cannot go.
Not go? Foolish creature, you are arrived at the moment which sometime or other was sure to happen, and everything depends on the use you make of it.
Come, Lady Frances, don't hesitate. The minutes are precious.
I could find in my heart, and yet I won't give up neither. If I should in this instance, he'll expect it forever.
Exit Lady Frances and Mrs. Brackett.
Now you act like a woman of spirit.
Exit Mrs. Hope.
A fair tug, by Jupiter, between duty and pleasure. Pleasure beats, and off we go. Io triumph!
Exit Flutter. Scene changes to an auction room with busts, pictures, and so on. Enter Silvertongue with 3 puffers.
Very well, very well. This morning will be devoted to curiosity. My sale begins tomorrow at 11. But Miss Flagg, if you do no better than you did in Lord Filigree's sale, I shall discharge you. You want to knack terribly, and this dress. Why, nobody can mistake you for a gentlewoman.
Very true, Mr. Silvertongue. But I can't dress like a lady upon half a crown a day, as the saying is. If you want me to dress like a lady, You must pay double my pay. Double or quits, Mr. Silvertongue.
5 shillings a day? What a demand! Why, woman, there are 1,000 parsons in the town who don't make 5 shillings a day, though they preach, pray, christen, marry, and bury for the good of the community. 5 shillings a day? Why, 'tis the pay of a lieutenant in a marching regiment, who keeps a servant, a mistress, a horse, fights, dresses, ogles, makes love, and dies upon 5 shillings a day.
Oh, as to that, all that's very right. A soldier should not be too fond of life, and force him to do all these things upon 5 shillings a day is the readiest way to make him tired of it.
Well, Mask, have you been looking into the antiquaries? Have you got all the terms of art in a string, aye?
Yes, I have. I know the age of a coin by the taste, can fix the birthday of a medal, Anno Mundi or Anno Domini. Those green rust should have eaten up every character. But, you know, the brown suit and the wig I wear when I personate the antiquary are in limbo.
Those you have on may do, may do.
See? Why, in these I am a young travel conoscento. Mr. Glib bought them of Sir Tom Totter's valet, and I am going there directly. You know his picture sale comes on today, and I have got my head full of Parmigiano, Salrosa, Metsu, Tarbayak, and Vandermeer. I talk of the relief of Wouverman, the spirit of Teniers, the coloring of the Venetian school, and the correctness of the Roman. I distinguish Claude by his sleep, and Roysdale by his water. The rapidity of Tintoret's pencil strikes me at the first glance, whilst the harmony of Van Dyck and the glow of Correggio point out their masters. Enter a lady.
Hey day, Mr. Silvertongue. What? Nobody here?
Oh, my lady, we shall have company enough in a trice. If your carriage is seen at my door, no other will pass it, I'm sure.
Oh, familiar monster. That's a beautiful Diana, Mr. Silvertongue. But in the name of wonder, how came Actaeon to be placed on top of a house?
That's a David and Bathsheba, ma'am.
Oh, I crave their pardon. I remember the names, but I know nothing of the story.
2 gentlemen enter.
Was that not Lady Frances Touchwood coming up with Mrs. Racket?
I think so. Yes, it is Faith. Let us go nearer.
Enter Lady Frances, Mrs. Racket, and the soap.
Yes, sir, this is to be the first lot, the model of a city in wax.
Model of a city? What city?
That I have not been able to discover, but call it Rome, Penkin, or London. 'Tis still a city. You'll find it in the same jarring interests, the same passions, the same virtues, the same vices, whatever the name.
You may as well present us a map of Terra Incognita.
Oh, pardon me, sir. A lively imagination would convert this waxen city into an endless and interesting amusement. For instance, look into this little house on the right hand. There are 4 old prudes in it, taking care of their neighbors' reputations. This elegant mansion on the left, decorated with Corinthian pillars. Who needs to be told that it belongs to the court lord and is the habitation of patriotism, philosophy, and virtue? Here's a city hall. The rich steams that issue from the windows nourish a neighboring workhouse. Here's a church. We'll pass over that. The doors are shut. The parsonage house comes next. We'll take a peep here, however. Look at the doctor. He's asleep on a volume of Doland, whilst his lady is putting on rouge for the masquerade. Oh, this can be no English city. Our parsons are all orthodox, and their wives the daughters of modesty and meekness.
Thank you, Lady Frances.
I wish Sir George was here. This man follows me about and stares at me in such a way that I am quite uneasy.
He has travelled and is an heir to an immense estate, so he's impertinent by patent.
You are very cruel, ladies. Miss Ogle, you will not let me speak to you. As to this little scornful beauty, she has frowned me dead 50 times.
Sir, I am a married woman.
A married woman, good hint. 'Twould be a shame if such a charming woman was not married. But I see you are a Daphne, just come from your sheep and your meadows, your crook and your waterfalls. Oh, pray now, who is the happy Damon to whom you have vowed eternal truth and constancy?
'Tis Lady Frances Touchwood, Mr. Courtall, to whom you are speaking.
Lady Frances? My heaven, that's Seville's old flame. I beg your ladyship's pardon. I ought to have believed that such beauty could belong only to your name. A name I have long been enamored of, because I knew it to be that of the finest woman in the world.
Dear Mrs. Racket, I am so frightened. Here's a man making love to me, though he knows I am married.
Oh, the sooner for that, my dear. Don't mind him. Was you at the casino last night, Mr. Courtall?
I looked in. It was impossible to stay. Nobody there but antiques. You'll be at Lady Brilliant's tonight, doubtless?
Yes, I go with Lady Frances.
Bless me, I did not know this gentleman was acquainted with Mrs. Racket. I behaved so rude to him.
Come, ma'am. 'Tis past 1. I protest if we don't fly to Kensington, we shan't find a soul there.
Won't this gentleman go with us?
To be sure, you make me happy, madam, beyond description.
Oh, never mind him. He'll follow.
Exit Lady Frances, Mrs. Racket, and Miss Ogle.
Lady Touchwood, with a vengeance. But it's always so. Your reserved ladies are like ice, Cat. No sooner begin to soften than they melt.
He exits, following them. End of Act 2. Act 3, Scene 1. In Mr. Hardy's. Enter Letitia and Mrs. Racket.
Come, prepare. Your lover is coming.
My lover. Confess now that my absence at dinner was a severe mortification to him.
I can't absolutely swear it spoilt his appetite. He ate as if he were hungry and drank his wine as though he liked it.
What was the apology?
That you were ill, but I gave him a hint that your extreme bashfulness could not support his eye.
If I comprehend him, awkwardness and bashfulness are the last faults he can pardon in a woman. So expect to see me transformed into the veriest Morcan.
You persevere then?
Certainly. I know the design is a rash one and the event important. It either makes Doracourt mine by all the tenderest ties of passion, or deprives me of him forever, and never to be his wife will afflict me less than to be his wife and not be beloved.
So, you won't trust to the good old maxim, marry first and love will follow.
As readily as I would venture my last guinea that good fortune might follow. The woman that has not touched the heart of a man before he leads her to the altar has scarcely a chance to charm it when possession and security turn their powerful arms against her. But here he comes. I'll disappear for a moment. Don't spare me.
Exit Letitia. Enter Doracourt.
So, this is my mistress, I presume. Ma foi, the painter has hit her off. The downcast eye, the blushing cheek, timid, apprehensive, bashful. A tear and a prayer book would have made her La Bella Magdalena. Give me a woman in whose touching mien a mind, a soul, a polished art is seen, whose motion speaks, whose poignant air can move. Such are the darts to wound with endless love.
That an impromptu?
Madam, finely caught. Not absolutely. It struck me during the dessert as a motto for your picture.
Oh, gallantly turned. I perceive, however, Miss Hardy's charms have made no violent impression on you. And who can wonder? The poor girl's defects are so obvious.
Defects?
Oh, merely those of education. Her father's indulgence ruined her. Mauvais conceit and ignorance all unite in the lady you are to marry.
Marry? I marry such a woman. Your picture, I hope, is overcharged. I marry mauvaise honte, pertness and ignorance.
Thank your stars. Ugliness and ill temper are not added to that list. Oh, you must think her handsome.
Half her personal beauty would content me. But could the Medicean Venus be animated for me and endowed with a vulgar soul, I should become the statue, and my heart transformed to marble.
Oh, bless us, we are in a hopeful way then.
There must be some envy in this. I see she is a coquette. And you imagine I am persuaded of the truth of your character. Miss Hardy, I have been assured, madam, is elegant and so accomplished. But one must allow for a lady's painting.
I'll be even with him for that. And so you have found me out. Well, I protest I meant no harm. 'Twas only to increase the eclat of her appearance that I threw a veil over her charms. Oh, here comes the lady. Her elegance and accomplishments will announce themselves.
Enter Letitia.
La, cousin, do you know that our John... Oh, dear heart, I didn't see you, sir.
Fie. Letitia, Mr. Doricourt thinks you are a woman of elegant manners. Stand forward and confirm his opinion.
Oh, no, keep before me. He's my sweetheart, and 'tis impudent to look on sweetheart in the face, you know.
You'll allow in future for a lady's painting, sir?
I am astonished.
Well, hang it, I'll take heart. Why, he is but a man, you know, cousin. And let him see I wasn't born in a wood to be scared by an owl. You have been a great traveller, sir, I hear.
Yes, madam.
Then I do wish you'd tell us about the fine sights you saw when you went overseas. I have read in a book that there are some countries where the men and women are all horses. Did you see any of them?
Mr. Doricourt is not prepared, my dear, for these enquiries. He is reflecting on the importance of the question and will answer you when he can.
Oh, when he can? Why, he's slow in speech as Aunt Marjorie when she's reading Thomas Aquinas and stands gaping like a mom-chance.
Oh, have a little discretion.
Hold your tongue. Sure, I may say what I please before I am married, if I can't afterwards. Do you think a body does not know how to talk to a sweetheart? He's not the first I've had.
Indeed.
Oh, Lud, he speaks. Why, if you must know, there was a curate at home. When Papa was a-hunting, he used to come a-tutoring and make me speeches out of books. Nobody knows what a mort of fine things he used to say to me and call me Venus and Juba and Dinah.
Pray, fair lady, how did you answer him?
Why, I used to say, look you, Mr. Curate, don't think to come over me with your flim-flams, for a better man than ever trod in your shoes is coming oversea to marry me. But if I begin to think I was out. Parson Dobbins was the spritefuller man of the two.
Surely this cannot be Miss Hardy.
Laws, why don't you know me? You saw me today, but I was daunted before my father and the lawyer and all them, and I didn't care to speak out. So maybe you thought I couldn't, but I can talk as fast as anybody when I know folks a little. And now I've shown my parts, I hope you'll like me better.
Enter Mr. Hardy.
I foresee this won't do. Mr. Doricourt, may you take my daughter for a fool, but you are mistaken. She's a sensible girl as any in England.
I am convinced she has a very uncommon understanding, sir. I did not think he had been such an ass.
Ugh, my father will undo the whole. Laws, Papa! How can you think he can take me for a fool when everybody knows I beat the pottery at conundrums last Christmas time? And didn't I make a little string of names all in riddles for the lady's diary? There was a little river and a great house. That was Newcastle. And there was what a lamb says and 3 letters. That was Bar and K-E-R, Baker. There was...
Don't stand buying there. You'll make me mad in a moment. I tell you, sir, that for all that, she's devilish sensible.
Sir, I give all possible credit to your assertions.
Laws, Papa, do come along. If you stand watching, how can my sweetheart break his mind and tell me how he admires me?
That would be difficult indeed, madam.
I tell you, Letty, I'll have no more of this. I see well enough.
Laws, don't snub me before my husband, that is to be. You'll teach him to snub me too. And I believe by his looks he'd like to begin now. So, let us go, cousin. You may tell the gentleman what a genius I have, how I can cut watch papers and work catguard, make quadrille baskets with pins and take profiles in shade. I, as well as the lady at number 62 South Moulton Street, Grosvenor Square.
Exit Hardy and Letitia.
What think you of my painting now?
Oh, mere watercolours, madam. The lady has caricatured your picture.
How does she strike you, on the whole?
Like a good design, spoiled by the incapacity of the artist. Her faults are evidently the lack of her father's weak indulgence. I observed an expression in her eye that seemed to satirize the folly of her lips.
Ah, but at her age, when education is fixed and manner becomes nature, hopes of improvement
would be as rational as hopes of gold from a juggler's crucible. Doicor's wife must be incapable of improvement, but it must be because she's got beyond it.
Oh, I'm pleased your misfortune sits no heavier.
Your pardon, madam. So mercurial was the hour in which I was born that misfortunes always go plop to the bottom of my heart, like a pebble in water, and leave the surface unruffled. I shall certainly set off for Bath or the other world tonight. But whether I should use a chaise with 4 swift courses or go off in a tangent from the aperture of a pistol deserves consideration. Sir, I make my adieux.
Oh, but I entreat you, postpone your journey till tomorrow. Determine on which you will. You must this night be at the masquerade.
Masquerade?
Why not? If you resolve to visit the other world, you may as well take one night's pleasure first in this, you know.
Faith, that's very true. Ladies are the best philosophers after all. Expect me at the masquerade.
Exit door.
He's a charming fellow. I think Letitia shan't have him.
Enter Hardy.
What's he gone?
Yes, and I'm glad he is. You would have ruined us. Now, I beg, Mr. Hardy, you won't interfere in this business. It is a little, out of your way.
Hang me if I don't, though. I foresee very clearly what will be the end of it, if I leave ye to yourselves, so I'll follow him to the masquerade and tell him all about it. Let me see. What shall my dress be? A great mogul? No. A grenadier? No. No, that I foresee would make a laugh. Hang me if I don't send to my favorite little Quick and borrow his Drew Isaac's dress. I know the dog likes a glass of good wine, so I'll give him a bottle of my 48, and he shall teach me. Aye, that's it. I'll be cunning little Isaac. If they complain of my want of wit, I'll tell 'em the cursed duenna wears the breeches and has spoilt my parts.
He exits. Act 3, Scene 2. Court halls. Enter court hall. Savile and 2 gentlemen.
Shanko, yes, another catch, another bottle.
May I be a bottle and an empty bottle if you catch me at that. Why, I am going to the masquerade. Jack, you know who I mean, is to meet me, and we are to have a leap at the new lustres.
And I am going too. A harlequin. Am I not in a pretty pickle to make harlequinades? And Tony here, he is going in the disguise of a gentleman.
We are all very disguised, so bid them draw up. Do you hear?
The gentleman exits.
Thy skull, Cortal, is a lady's thimble. No, an eggshell.
Then you are gone too. You never aspire to similes but in your cups.
No. I am steady enough, but the fumes of the wine pass directly through thy eggshell and leave thy brain as cool as... Hey, I am quite sober. My similes fail me.
Then we'll sit down here and have one sober bottle. Bring a table and more glasses.
I'll not swallow another drop. No, though the juice be the true Falernian.
By the bright eyes of her you love, you shall drink her health.
Ah, her I loved is gone. She's married.
Then bless your stars, you are not her husband. I will be husband to no woman in Europe who is not devilish rich and devilish ugly.
Wherefore ugly?
Because she could not have the conscience to exact those attentions that a pretty wife expects. Or if she should, her resentments would be perfectly easy for me. Nobody would undertake to revenge her cause.
Thou art a most licentious fellow.
I should hate my own wife, that's certain. But I have a warm heart for those of other people. And so here's to the prettiest wife in England, Lady Frances Touchwood.
Lady Frances Touchwood, I rise to drink her. How the devil came Lady Frances to your head? I never knew you give a woman of chastity before.
That's odd, for you have heard me give half the women of fashion in England. Pray now, what do you take a woman of chastity to be?
Such a woman as Lady Frances Torchwood, sir.
Oh, you are grave, sir. I remember you was an adorer of hers. Why didn't you marry her?
I had not the arrogance to look so high. Had my fortunes been worthy of her, she should not have been ignorant of my admiration.
Precious fellow! What, I suppose you would not dare tell her now that you admire her?
No, nor you.
By the Lord, I have told her so.
Have? Impossible.
Is it so?
How did she receive the declaration?
Why, in the old way, blushed and frowned and said she was married.
What amazing things thou art capable of. I could more easily have taken the Pope by the beard than profaned her ears with such a declaration.
I shall meet her at Lady Brilliant's tonight, where I shall repeat it. And I'll lay my life under a mask, she'll hear it all without blush or frown.
'Tis false, sir, she won't.
She will. I'd venture to lay around some, that I prevail on her to go out with me. Out to taste the fresh air, I mean.
Preposterous vanity! From this moment I suspend that half the victories you have boasted are false and slanderous as your pretended influences with Lady Frances.
Pretended? How should such a fellow as you now, who never soared beyond a cherry-cheeked daughter of a ploughman in Norfolk, judge of the influence of a man of my figure and habits? I could show thee a list in which there are names to shake thy faith in the whole sex. And to that list, I have no doubt of adding the name of Lady...
Hold, sir! My ears cannot bear the profanation. You cannot, you dare not approach her. For your soul, you dare not mention love to her. Her look would freeze the world, whilst it hovered on thy licentious lips.
What? Well, we shall see. This evening, by Jupiter, the trial shall be made. If I fail, I fail.
I think thou darest not. But my life, my honor, on her purity.
Yes.
Hot-headed fool. Since he has brought it to this point, by Gad, I'll try what can be done with her ladyship. She's frostwork. The prejudices of education yet strong. Ergo, passionate professions will only inflame her pride and put her on her guard. For other arts, then.
Enter Dick the servant.
Dick, do you know any of the servants at Sir George Touchwood's?
Yes, sir. I knows the groom, and one of the housemaids for the matter of that. She's my own cousin, and it was my mother that hoped her to the place.
Do you know Lady Frances's maid?
I can't say as how I know she.
Do you know Sir George's valet?
No, sir, but Sally is very thick with Mr. Gibson, Sir George's gentleman.
Then go there directly and employ Sally to discover whether her master goes to Lady Brilliant's this evening. And if he does, the name of the shop that sold his habit.
Yes, sir.
Be exact in your intelligence and come to me at Boodle's. If I cannot otherwise succeed, I'll beguile her as Jove de Alcmene in the shape of her husband. Possession of so fine a woman, the triumph over Seville, are each a sufficient motive. United, they shall be resistless.
They exit. Act 3, Scene 3, the street. Enter Savile.
The air has recovered me. What have I been doing? Perhaps my petulance may be the cause of her ruin, whose honor I asserted, whose vanity is piqued. And where women are concerned, Cortal can be a villain.
Enter Dick.
That's his servant. Dick!
Sir.
Where are you going, Dick?
Going? I'm going, sir, where my master sent me.
Well answered. But I have a particular reason for my inquiry, and you must tell me.
Why then, sir, I'm going to call upon a cousin of mine that lives at Sir George Touchwood's.
Very well. There. You must make your cousin drink my health. What are you going about?
Why, sir, I believe 'tis no harm, or elsewheres I'm sure I would not blab. I'm not going to ask if Sir George goes to the masquerade tonight and what dress he wears.
Enough. Now, Dick, if you will call at my lodgings in your way back and acquaint me with your cousin's intelligence, I'll double the trifle I have given you.
Bless your honor. I'll call, never fear.
Surely the occasion may justifies the means. 'Tis doubly my duty to be Lady Frances's protector. Cortal, I see, is planning an artful scheme, but Seville shall outplot him.
He exits. Act 3, Scene 4, Sir George Touchwood's. Enter Sir George and VA.
For shame, Sir George, you have left Lady Frances in tears. How could you afflict her?
'Tis I that am afflicted. My dreams of happiness are over. Lady Frances and I are disunited.
The devil! Why, you have been in town but 10 days. She can't have made a no acquaintance for a commons affair yet.
'Tis our minds that are disunited. She no longer places her whole delight in me. She has yielded herself up to the world.
Yielded herself up to the world? Why did you not bring her to town in a cage? Oh, then she might have taken a peep at the world. After all, what has the world done? For 12 months since, you were the gayest fellow in it. If anybody asked who dresses best, Sir George Touchwood, who is the most gallant man. Sir George Touchwood, who is the most wedded to amusement and dissipation. Sir George Touchwood. And now Sir George is metamorphosed into a sour censor and talks of fashionable life and with as much bitterness as the old crab fellow in Rome.
The moment I became possessed of such a jewel as Lady Frances, everything wore a different complexion. That society in which I lived with so much eclat became the object of my terror. And I think of the manners of polite life as I do the atmosphere of a pest house. My wife is already infected. She was set upon this morning by maids, widows, and bachelors who carried her off in triumph in spite of my displeasure.
Aye, to be sure, there would have been no triumph in the case if you had not opposed it. I have heard the whole story from Mrs. Racket, and I assure you, Lady Frances did not enjoy the morning at all. She wished for you 50 times.
Indeed? Are you sure of that?
Oh, perfectly sure.
Oh, I wish I had known it. My uneasiness at dinner was occasioned by very different ideas.
Well, here then she comes to receive your apology. But if she is true woman, her displeasure will rise in proportion to your contrition. And till you grow careless about her pardon, she won't grant it. However, I'll leave you. Matrimonial duets are seldom set in the style I like.
Yes. Enter Lady Frances.
Oh, the sweet sorrow that glitters in these eyes, I cannot bear. Look cheerfully, you rogue.
I cannot look otherwise, if you are pleased with me.
Well, Fanny, today you made your entrée in the fashionable world. Tell me honestly the impression you received.
Indeed, Sir George, I was so hurried from place to place that I had not time to find out what my impressions were.
That's the very spirit of the life you have chosen.
Everybody about me seemed happy, but everybody seemed in a hurry to be happy somewhere else.
And you like this?
One must like what the rest of the world likes.
Oh, pernicious maxim.
But my dear George, you have not promised to go with me to the masquerade.
'Twould be shocking indecorum to be seen together, you know.
Oh, no. I asked Mrs. Racket, and she told me we might be seen together at the masquerade without being laughed at.
Really?
Indeed. To tell you the truth, I could wish it was the fashion for married people to be inseparable, for I have more heartfelt satisfaction in 15 minutes with you at my side than 15 days of amusement could give me without you.
Oh, my sweet creature, how that confession charms me. Let us begin the fashion.
Oh, impossible. We should not gain a single proselyte. You should conceive what spiteful things would be said of us. At Kensington today, a lady met us, whom we saw at court when we were presented. She lifted up her hands in amazement. Bless me, she said to her companion. Here's Lady Frances without Sir Hurlo Thrumbo. My dear Mrs. Racket, consider what an important charge you have. For heaven's sake, take her home again, or some enchanter on a flying dragon will descend and carry her off. Oh, said another, I dare say Lady Frances has a clue at her heel, like the peerless Rosamond. Her tender swain would have trusted her so far without a precaution.
Heaven and earth! How shall innocence persevere its luster amidst manners so corrupt? Oh, my dear Fanny, I feel a sentiment for thee at this moment tenderer than love, more animated than passion. I could weep over that purity exposed to the sullying breath of fashion, and the ton in whose latitude vortex chastity herself can scarcely move unspotted.
Your Honor talked, I thought, something about going to the masquerade?
Well,
hasn't Your Honor, I thought Your Honor had forgot to order a dress.
Well considered, Gibson. Come, will you be Jew, Turk, or heretic? A Chinese emperor or a ballad singer? A rake or a watchman?
Oh, neither, my love. I can't take the trouble to support a character.
You'll wear a domino then. I saw a pink domino trimmed with blue at the shop where I bought my habit. Would you like it?
Anything.
Then go
Anything.
about it directly, Gibson. A pink domino trimmed with blue and a hat of the same. Come, you have not seen my dress yet. It is most beautiful. I long to have it on.
Exit Sir George and Lady Frances.
Pink domino trimmed with blue and a hat of the same. What the devil can it signify to Sally now what his dress is to be? Surely the slut has not made an assignation to meet her master.
He exits. End of Act 3. Act 4, a masquerade. Party dancing chillions in front, variety of characters pass and repass. Enter Folly on a hobby horse, cap and bells. Hey, Tom Fool, what business have you here?
What, sir? Affront a prince in his own dominions?
He exits.
Who'll buy my nostrums? Who'll buy my nostrums?
What are they?
Different sorts, and for different customers. Here's a liquor for ladies. It expels the rage of gaming and gallantry. Here's a pill for members of parliament, good to settle the consciences. Here's an eye water for jealous husbands. It thickens the visual membrane, the which they see too clearly. Here's a decoction for the clergy. It never sits easy if the patient has more than one living. Here's a draught for lawyers, a great promoter of modesty. Here's a powder for projectors, which will rectify the fumes of an empty stomach and dissipate their airy castles.
Have you a nostrum that can give patience to young heirs whose uncles and fathers are stout and healthy?
Yes, and I have an infusion for creditors. It gives resignation and humility when fine gentlemen break their promises or plead their privilege.
Come along, I'll find you customers for your whole cargo. Enter Hardy in the dress of Isaac Mendoza.
Why, isn't it a shame to see so many stout, well-built young fellows masquerading and cutting courantas here at home, instead of making the French cut capers to the tune of your cannon, or sweating the Spaniards with an English fandango? I foresee the end of all this.
Why, thou little testy Israelite, back to Duke's Palace and preach your tribe into a subscription for the good of the land on whose milk and honey you fatten. Where are your Joshuas and your Gideons, eh? What, all dwindled into stockbrokers, peddlers, and ragmen?
No, not all. Some of us turned Christians and by degrees grew into all the privileges of Englishmen. In the second generation we are patriots, rebels, courtiers, and husbands.
Enter another mask.
What, my little Isaac? How the devil came you here? Where's your old Margaret?
Oh, I have got rid of her.
How?
Why, I persuaded a young Irishman that she was a blooming, plump beauty of 18, so they made an elopement. Ha, ha, ha. And she is now the toast of Tipperary. Ha! There's Cousin Racket and her party. They shan't know me.
He puts on his mask. Enter Mrs. Racket, Lady Frances, Sir George, and Flutter.
Look at this fellow. His mask is certainly apropos his figure. You have surely practiced a long time, friend, to have raised that goodly presence.
About as long, my brisk widow, as you have been angling for a second husband, but my hook has been better baited than yours. You have only caught gudgeons, I see.
Oh, this is one of the geniuses they hire to entertain the company with their accidental sallies. Let me look at your commonplace book, friend. I want a few good things.
I'd oblige you with all my heart, but you'll spoil them in repeating. Or, if you should not, they'll gain you no reputation, for nobody will believe they're your own.
He knows you, Flutter. The little gentleman fancies himself a wit, I see.
There's no depending on what you see. The eyes of the jealous are not to be trusted. Look to your lady.
He knows ye, Sir George.
Am I the town talk?
I can neither see Doricourt nor Letty. I must find them out.
He exits.
Well, Lady Frances, is not all this charming? Could you have conceived such a brilliant assemblage of objects?
delightful. The days of enchantment are restored. The columns glow with sapphires and rubies. Emperors and fairies, beauties and dwarves meet me at every step.
How lively are first impressions on sensible minds. In 4 hours, vapidity and languor will take place of the exquisite sense of joy which flutters in your little heart.
What an inhuman creature. Fate has not allowed us these sensations above 10 times in our lives, and would you have us shorten them by anticipation?
Oh, Lord, your wise men are the greatest fools upon earth. They reason about their enjoyments and analyze their pleasures, whilst the essence escapes. Look, Lady Frances, do you see that figure strutting in the dress of an emperor? His father retails oranges in Botley Lane. That gypsy is a maid of honor, and that ragman a physician.
Why, you know everybody.
Oh, every creature. A mask is nothing at all to me. I can give you the history of half the people here. In the next apartment, there's a whole family who, to my knowledge, have lived on watercresses this month to make a figure here tonight. But to make up for that, they'll cram their pockets with cold ducks and chickens for a carnival tomorrow.
Oh, I should like to see this provident family.
Honor me with your arm.
Exit Flutter and Lady Frances.
Come, Sir George, you shall be my beau. We'll make a tour of the rooms and meet them. Oh, your pardon. You must follow Lady Frances, or the wit and fine parts of Mr. Flutter may drive you out of her head.
Exit Mrs. Rat.
I was going to follow her, and now I dare not. How can I be such a fool as to be governed by the fear of that ridicule which I despise?
Exit Sir George. Enter Doracourt, reading a mass.
My lord, I thought you had been engaged at Westminster on this important night.
So I am. I slipped out as soon as Lord Trope got up on his legs. I can badinage here an hour or two and be back again before he is down. There's a fine figure. I'll address her. Charity, fair lady, charity for a poor pilgrim.
Charity, if you mean my prayers, heaven grant thee wit, pilgrim.
That blessing would do from a devotee. From you I ask other charities, such charities as beauty should bestow, soft looks, sweet words, and kind wishes.
Alas, I am bankrupt of these and forced to turn beggar myself. There he is. How shall I catch his attention?
Will you grant me no favor?
Yes. One, I'll make you my partner, not for life, but through the soft mazes of a minuet. Dare you dance?
Some spirit in that.
I dare do anything you command.
Do you know her, my lord?
No. Such a woman as that would formerly have been known in any disguise, but beauty is now common. Venus seems to have given her cestus to the whole sex. Dance a minuet.
She dances divinely. Somebody must know her. Let us inquire who she is.
Yes. Enter Savile and Kitty Willis, habited like Lady Frances.
I have seen Cortal in Sir George's habit, though he endeavored to keep himself concealed. Go and seat yourself in the tea room, and on no account discover your face. Remember too, Kitty, that the woman you are to personate is a woman of virtue.
I am afraid I shall find that a difficult character indeed. Indeed, I believe it is seldom kept up through a whole masquerade.
Of that you can be no judge. Follow my directions, and you shall be rewarded.
Kitty exits, enter Doracourt.
Savile, did you see a lady dance just now?
No.
Very odd. Nobody knows her.
Where is Miss Hardy?
Cutting watch papers and making conundrums, I suppose.
What do you mean?
Faith, I hardly know. She's not here, however, Mrs. Racket tells me. I ask no further.
Your indifference seems increased.
Quite the reverse. 'Tis advanced 32 degrees towards hatred.
Are you jesting?
It must be with a very ill grace, my dear Savile, for I never felt so seriously. Do you know, the creature's almost an idiot.
What?
An idiot? What the devil shall I do with her? Egad, I think I'll feign myself mad. And then Hardy will propose to cancel the engagements.
An excellent expedient. I must leave you. You are mysterious, and I can't stay to unravel ye. I came here to watch over innocence and beauty.
Guardian of innocence and beauty at 23. Is there not a cloven foot under that black gown, Savile?
No, faith. Cortal is here on a most detestable design. I found means to get a knowledge of the lady's dress and have brought a girl to personate her, whose reputation cannot be hurt. You shall know the result tomorrow. Adieu.
He exits.
Yes, I think that will do. I'll feign myself mad, see the doctor to pronounce me incurable, and when the parchments are destroyed...
Enter Letitia.
Wake, thou son of dullness, wake, from the drowsy senses shake all the spells that care employs, cheating mortals of their joys. Light-winged spirits, hither haste, who prepare for mortal taste all the gifts that pleasure sends, every bliss that youth attends. Touch his feelings, rouse his soul, whilst the sparkling moments roll. Bid them wake to new delight, crown the magic of the night.
By heaven, the same sweet creature.
You have chosen an odd situation for study. Fashion and taste preside in this spot. They throw their spells around you. 10,000 lights spring up at their command. And you, a stoic, a being without senses, are wrapped in reflection.
And you, the most charming being in the world, awake me to admiration. Did you come from the stars?
Yes, and I shall reascend in a moment.
Pray show me your face before you go.
Beware of imprudent curiosity. It lost paradise.
This curiosity was raised by the devil. 'Tis an angel that tempts mine. So your illusion is not on point.
But why would you see my face?
To fall in love with it.
And what then?
Why then? Aye, curse it. There's the rub.
Your mistress will be angry. But perhaps you have no mistress?
Yes, yes, and a sweet one it is.
What? Is she old?
No.
Ugly?
No.
What then?
Don't talk about her, but show me your face.
My vanity forbids it. It would frighten you.
Impossible. Your shape is graceful, your air bewitching, your bosom transparent, and your chin would tempt me to kiss it, if I did not see a pouting red lip above it that demands...
You grow too free.
Show me your face then. Only half a glance.
Not for worlds.
Will you have a little gentle force?
I am gone forever.
She exits.
'Tis false. I'll follow to the end.
He exits. Flutter, Lady Frances, and Saddle enter.
How can you be thus interested for a stranger?
Goodness will ever interest. Its home is heaven, on earth 'tis but a wanderer, imprudent lady. Why have you left the side of your protector? Where's your husband?
Why, what's that to him?
Surely it can't be merely his habit. There's something in him that awes me.
Pooh, 'tis only his grey beard. I know him. He keeps a lottery office on Cornhill.
My province, as an enchanter, lays open every secret to me. Lady, there are dangers abroad. Beware.
He exits.
is very odd. His manner has made me tremble. Let us seek Sir George.
He is coming towards us.
Cortal comes forward, habited like Sir George.
There she is. If I can but disengage her from that fool flutter. Crown me, schemers, with immortal wreaths.
My dear Sir George, I rejoice to meet you. An old conjurer has been frightening me with his prophecies. Where's Mrs. Racket?
In the dancing room. I promised to send you to her, Mrs. Flutter, Mr. Flutter.
She wants me to dance with all my heart.
Yes.
Why do you keep on your mask? 'Tis too warm.
It is very warm. I want air. Let us go.
You seem quite agitated. Shan't we bid our company adieu?
No, there's no time for forms. I'll just give directions to the carriage and be with you in a moment. Keep on your mask. I have a particular reason for it.
He exits. Savile advances with Kitty.
Now, Kitty, you know your lesson. Lady Frances, let me lead you to your husband.
Heavens! Is Mr. Savile the conjurer? Sir George has just stepped to the door to give directions. We are going home immediately.
No, madame, you are deceived. Sir George is this way.
This is astonishing.
Be not alarmed. You have escaped a snare and shall be in safety in a moment.
Savile and Lady Frances exit. Enter Cortal, who seizes Kitty's hand.
No.
'Tis pity to go so soon.
Oh, perhaps I may bring you back, my angel. But go now you must.
They exit. Doricourt and Letitia come forward.
Heavens, I was never charmed till now. English beauty, French vivacity, wit, elegance. Your name, my angel. Tell me your name, though you persist in concealing your face.
My name has a spell in it.
I thought so. It must be charming.
But if revealed, the charm is broke.
I'll answer for its force.
Suppose it's Harriet, or Charlotte, or Maria, or...
Harriet, Charlotte, and Maria. The name your father gave you.
That can't be worth knowing. 'Tis so transient a thing.
How transient?
Heaven forbid my name should be lasting till I am married.
Married? The chains of matrimony are too heavy and vulgar for such a spirit as yours. The flowery wreaths of Cupid are the only bands you should wear.
They are the lightest, I believe, but 'tis possible to wear those of marriage gracefully. Throw 'em loosely round and twist 'em in a true lover's knot for the bosom.
An angel. But what will you be when a wife?
A woman. If my husband should prove a churl, a fool, or a tyrant, I'd break his heart, ruin his fortune, elope with the first pretty fellow that'd ask me, and return the contempt of the world with scorn, whilst my feelings preyed upon my life.
Amazing. What if you loved him, and he were worthy of your love?
Why, then I'd be anything and all, grave, gay, capricious, the soul of whim, the spirit of variety, live with him in the eye of fashion or in the shade of retirement, change my country, my sex, feast with him in an Eskimo hut or a Persian pavilion, join him in the victorious war dance on the borders of Lake Ontario, or sleep to the soft breathings of the flute in the cinnamon groves in Ceylon, dig with him in the mines of Golconda, or enter the dangerous precincts of the Mogul's Seraglio. Cheat him of his wishes and overturn his empire to restore the husband of my heart to the blessings of liberty and love.
Delightful wildness. Oh, to catch thee and hold thee forever in this little cage.
Hold, sir. Though Cupid must give the bait that tempts me to the snare, 'tis Hymen must spread the net to catch me.
'Tis in vain to assume airs of coldness. Fate has ordained you mine.
How do you know?
I feel it here. I never met with a woman so perfectly to my taste. and I won't believe it formed you so on purpose to tantalize me.
This moment is worth a whole existence.
Show me your face and rivet my charms.
Tomorrow, you shall be satisfied.
Tomorrow? And not tonight?
No.
Where then shall I wait on you tomorrow? Where see you?
You shall see me in an hour when you least expect me.
Why all this mystery?
I like to be mysterious. At present, be content to know that I am a woman of family and fortune. Adieu.
Enter Mr. Hardy.
Adieu. Then I am come at the end.
Let me see you to your carriage.
As you value knowing me, stir not a step. If I am followed, you'll never see me more.
He exits.
Barbarous creature. She's gone. What? And is this really serious? Am I in love? It can't be. Ah, Flutter, do you know that charming creature?
Your Flutter.
What charming creature? I passed 1,000.
She went out that door as you entered.
Oh, yes, I know her very well.
Do you, my dear fellow? Whom?
She's kept by Lord George Jennet.
Impudent scoundrel.
Kept?
Yes, Colonel George had her first, then Mr. Lovely, then, I forget exactly how many, and at last she is Lord George's.
I'll murder Gaucher, poison Lord George, and shoot myself.
Now's the time I see to clear up the hole. Mr. Dorycourt, I say, Flutter was mistaken. I know who you are in love with.
A strange rencontre. Who?
My Letty.
Oh, I understand your rebuke. 'Tis too soon, sir, to assume the father-in-law.
Sounds. What do you mean by that? I tell you the lady you admire is Letitia Hardy.
I'm glad you are so well satisfied with the state of my heart. I wish I was.
Stop a moment. Stop, I say. What, you won't? Very well. If I don't play you a trick for this, may I never be a grandfather. I'll plot with Letty now and not against her. Aye, hang me if I don't. There's something in my head that shall tingle in his heart. He shall have a lecture upon impatience that I foresee he'll be the better for as long as he lives.
He exits. Savile comes forward.
Flutter, come with us. We're going to raise a laugh at Courtles.
With all my heart. Live to live was my father's motto. Live to laugh is mine.
They exit. Scene shifts to court halls. Enter Kitty and Cordell.
Sorry, I've lost my place. Where have you brought me, Sir George? This is not our home.
It's my home, beautiful Lady Frances. Forgive the ardency of my passion, which has compelled me to deceive you.
Mr. Courtall, what will become of me?
Oh, say but you pardon the wretch who adores you. Did you but know the agonizing tortures of my heart since I had the felicity of conversing with you this morning? Or the despair that now...
Oh, I am undone!
Oh, my dear Lady Frances, I am not at home. Rascal, do you hear? Let nobody in. I am not at home.
Sir, I told the gentleman so.
Eternal curses, they're coming up. Step into this room, adorable creature. One moment. I'll throw them out the window if they stay three.
Exit. Enter Savile, Flutter, and Masks.
Oh, Gemini, beg the petticoat's pardon. Just saw a corner of it.
No wonder admittance was so difficult. I thought you took us for bailiffs.
Upon my soul, I am devilish glad to see you, but you perceive how I am circumstanced. Excuse me at this moment.
Tell us who 'tis then.
Oh, fie.
We won't blab.
Can't, upon honor. Thus far, she's a woman of the first character of rank. Seville, have I influence or have I not?
Why, sure, you do not insinuate.
No, not insinuate, but swear that she's now in my bedchamber. My God, I don't deceive you. Oh, there's generalship, you rogue. Such a humble, distant, sighing fellow as thou art. The end of a 6-month siege would have boasted of a kiss from her glove. I only give the signal, and pop, she's in my arms.
What, Lady France?
Shh. You shall see her name tomorrow morning in red letters at the end of my list. Gentlemen, you must excuse me now. Come and drink chocolate at 12, but...
Aye, let us go out of respect to the lady. 'Tis a person of rank.
Is it? Then I'll have a peep at her.
This is too much, sir.
By Jupiter, we'll all have a peep.
Gentlemen, consider, for heaven's sake, a lady of quality. What will be the consequences?
Consequences? Why, you'll have your throat cut, that's all. But all right, your allergy. So now for the door. Beg your ladyship's pardon, whoever you are. Emerge from darkness like the glorious sun and bless the wandering circle with your charms.
Kitty Willis!
Kitty Willis! Why, what a fellow you are, Court Hall, to attempt imposing on your friends in this manner. A lady of quality, an earl's daughter, your ladyship's most obedient.
Court Hall, have you influence or have you not?
Man's moonstruck.
Hell and 10,000 furies seize you altogether.
What, me too, Mr. Courthall? Me whom you have knelt to, prayed to, and adored?
That's right, Kitty. Give him a little more.
Disappointed and laughed at.
Laughed at and despised. I have fulfilled my design, which was to expose your villainy and laugh at your presumption. Adieu, sir. Remember how you again boast of your influence with women of rank. And when you next want amusement, dare not look up to the virtuous and be the noble for a companion.
And
Leading Kitty.
Courtall, before you carry a lady into your bedchamber again, look under her mask, do you hear?
Yes.
There's no bearing this. I will set off for Paris immediately.
End of Act 4. Act 5, Scene 1. Hardy's. Enter Mr. Hardy and Villers.
Whimsical enough. Dying for her and hates her. Believes her a fool and a woman of brilliant understanding.
As true as you're alive. But when I went up to him last night at the Pantheon, out of downright good nature to explain things, my gentleman whips round upon his heel and snapped me as short as if I had been a beggar woman of 6 children and he overseer of the parish.
Here comes the wonder worker.
Enter Letitia.
Here comes the enchantress, who can go to masquerades and sing and dance and talk a man out of his wits. But pray, have we mourning masquerades?
Oh, no, but I am so enamored of this all-conquering habit that I could not resist putting it on the moment I had breakfasted. I shall wear it on the day that I am married, and then lay it by in spices, like the miraculous robes of St. Bridget.
That's as most brides do. That charms that help to catch the husband so generally laid by, one after another, till the lady grows a downright wife, and then runs crying to her mother because she has transformed her lover into a downright husband.
Listen to me. I hadn't slept tonight for thinking of plots to plague Doricourt, and they drove one another out of my head so quick that I was as giddy as a goose and could make nothing of them. I wish to goodness you could contrive something.
Contrive to plague him? Nothing so easy. Don't undeceive him, madam, till he is your husband. Marry him whilst he possesses the sentiments you labored to give him of Miss Hardy. And when you are his wife,
Oh, heavens, I see the whole. That's the very thing. Oh, my dear Mr. Villas, you are the divinest man.
oh, don't you make love to me, hussy. Oh,
I don't. For I designed to have Villas myself in about 6 years. There's an oddity in him that pleases me. He holds women in contempt, and I should like to have an opportunity of breaking his heart for that.
and I am heartily tired of life. I know no woman whom I would with more pleasure make my executioner.
It cannot be. I foresee it will be impossible to bring it about. You know the wedding wasn't to take place this week or more, and Letty will never be able to play the fool so long.
Well, the knot shall be tied tonight. I have it all here. The license is ready. Feign yourself ill and send for Doracourt and tell him you can't get out of the world in peace except you see the ceremony performed.
I feign myself ill. I could as soon feign myself a Roman ambassador. I was never ill in my life, but with the toothache. When Letty's mother was a breeding, I had all the qualms.
Oh, I have no fears for you. But what says Miss Hardy? Are you willing to make the irrevocable vow before night?
Oh, heavens. Tis so exceedingly sudden that really.
Really, she is frightened out of her wits, lest it should be impossible to bring matters about. But I have taken the scheme into my protection, and you shall be Mrs. Doracourt before night. Come, sir, to your bed directly. Your room shall be crammed with files and all the apparatus of death, then hi presto for Doracourt.
You go off and put off your conquering desires, your conquering dress, and get all your awkward airs ready. And you practice a few groans. And you, if possible, an air of gravity. I'll answer for the plot.
Married in jest. 'Tis an odd idea. Well, I'll venture it.
He exits with Mrs. Racket.
Aye, I'll be sworn. Oh, just past 3. The budget's to be open this morning. I'll just step down to the house. Will you go?
What? Mortal sickness?
What a blockhead! I believe if half of us were to stay away with mortal sickness, it would be for the health of the nation. Good morning. I'll call and feel your pulse as I come back.
You won't find him over brisk, I fancy. I foresee some ill happening from this making believe to die before one's time. But hang it, ahem. I am a stout man, yet only 56. What's that? In the last yearly bill, there are 3 lived to be above 100. 56? Phil D.D. I am not afraid. Not I.
He exits. Act 5, Scene 2. Doracourt. Enter Doracourt and Sapple.
Undressed so late?
I didn't go to bed till late. 'Twas late before I slept, late when I rose. Do you know Lord George Jennet?
Yes.
Has he a mistress?
Yes.
What sort of creature is she?
Why, she spends some 3,000 a year with the ease of a duchess and entertains his friends with the grace of a Ninon. Ergo, she is handsome, spirited, and clever. In the name of Capri, what ails you?
You have hit it. Elle est mon caprice. The mistress of Lord George Jennet is my caprice. Oh, insufferable.
What, you saw her at the masquerade?
I saw her, loved her, died for her without knowing her. And now the curse is I can't hate her.
Ridiculous enough. All this distress about a kept woman, whom any man may have. I dare swear in a fortnight. They've been jarring some time.
Have her? The sentiment I have conceived for the witch is so unaccountable that in that line I cannot bear her idea. Were she a woman of honor, for a wife I could adore her. But I really believe if she should send me an assignation, I should hate her.
Hey, Day, this sounds like love. What becomes of poor Miss Hardy?
Her name has given me an ague. Dear Savile, how shall I contrive to make old Hardy cancel the arrangements? The moiety of the estate which he will forfeit shall be his the next moment by deed of gift.
Let me see. Can't you get it insinuated that you are a devilish wild fellow, that you are an infidel, and attached to wenching, gaming, and so forth?
Such a character might have done some good 2 centuries back. But who the devil can it frighten now? I believe it must be the mad scheme at last. There. Will that do for the grin?
Ridiculous. But how are you certain that the woman who has so bewildered you belongs to Lord George?
My Flutter told me so.
Then 50 to 1 against that intelligence.
It must be so. There was a mystery in her manner for which nothing else can account. But who can this be?
The proverb is your answer. 'Tis Flutter himself. Dip him a scene of the madman, see how it takes.
I will. A good way to send it about town. Shall it be of the melancholy kind? Or the raving?
Rant! Rant, here he comes.
Talk not to me who can pull comets by the beard and overset an island.
Enter Flutter.
There! This is he! This is he who hath sent my poor soul without coat or breeches to be tossed about in ether like a duck feather. Villain, give me my soul again.
Upon my soul, I haven't got it.
Oh, Mr. Flutter, what a melancholy sight. I little thought to have seen my poor friend reduced to this.
Mercy defend me. What's he, mad?
You see how it is. A cursed Italian lady, jealousy, gave him a drug, and every full of the moon.
Moon? Who dares talk of the moon? The patroness of genius, the rectifier of wits, the... Oh, there she is. I feel her. She tugs at my brain. She has it. She has it. Oh!
Yes.
Well, this is dreadful. Exceeding dreadful, I protest. Have you had Monroe?
Not yet. The worthy Miss Hardy. What a misfortune.
Aye, very true. Do they know it?
No. The paroxysm seized him this very morning.
Adieu, I can't stay.
But you must. Stay and assist me. Perhaps he'll return again in a moment, and when he is in his way, his strength is prodigious.
Can't indeed, can't, upon my soul.
Flutter exits.
Flutter! Don't make a mistake now. Remember, 'tis Dorincourt that's mad.
Yes, you mad.
No, Dorincourt.
Egad, I say you are both mad, and then I can't mistake.
They exit. Act 5, Scene 3, Sir George Touchwords. Enter Sir George and Lady Frances.
Word has escaped. Courtal has gone to France.
Heaven and earth! Have you been to seek him?
Seek him? Aye.
How did you get his name? I should never have told it you.
I learnt it at the first coffee house I entered. Everybody is full of the story.
Thank heaven he's gone. But I have a story for you. The Hardy family are forming a plot upon your friend Dorincourt, and we are expected in the evening to assist.
With all my heart, my angel. But I can't stay to hear it unfolded. They told me Mr. Seville would be at home in half an hour, and I am impatient to see him. The adventure of last night...
Think of it only with gratitude. The danger I was in has overset a new system of conduct that perhaps I was too much inclined to adopt. But henceforth, my dear Sir George, you shall be my constant companion and protector. And when they ridicule the unfashionable monsters, the felicity of our hearts shall make their satire pointless.
Charming angel, you almost reconcile me to Courtal. Hark, here's company. Oh, 'tis your lively widow. I'll step down the back stairs and escape her.
Exit Sir George. Enter Mrs. Racket.
Lady Frances, I am shocked to death. Have you received a card from us?
Yes, within these 20 minutes.
Aye, 'tis of no consequence. 'Tis all over. Dorincourt is Mad.
Mad?
Oh, my poor Letitia. Just as we were enjoying ourselves with the prospect of a scheme that was planned for the mutual happiness, in came Flutter, breathless, with the intelligence. I flew here to know if you had heard it.
No, indeed, and I hope it is one of Mr. Flutter's dreams.
Enter Savile.
Apropos now we shall be informed. Mr. Seville, I rejoice to see you, though Sir George will be disappointed. He's gone to your lodgings.
I should have been happy to have prevented Sir George. I hope your ladyship's adventure last night did not disturb your dreams.
Not at all, for I never slept a moment. My escape and the importance of my obligations to you employed my thoughts. But we have just had shocking intelligence. Is it true that Doricourt is mad?
So the business is done. Madame, I am sorry to say that I've just been a melancholy witness of his ravings. He was in the height of paroxysms.
Oh, there can be no doubt of it. Flutter told us the whole story. Some Italian princess gave him a drug and a box of sweetmeats, sent to him by her own page. It renders him a lunatic every month. Poor Miss Hardy. I never felt so much on any occasion of my life.
To soften your concern, I will inform you, madam, that Miss Hardy is less to be pitied than you imagine.
Why so, sir?
'Tis rather a delicate subject, but he did not love Miss Hardy.
He did love Miss Hardy, sir, and would have been the happiest of men.
Pardon me, madam. His heart was not only free from that of ladies' chains, but absolutely captivated by another.
No, sir, no. It was Miss Hardy who captivated him. She met him last night at the masquerade and charmed him in disguise. He professed the most violent passion for her, and a plan was laid this evening to cheat him into happiness.
Upon my soul, I must beg your pardon. I have not eaten of the Italian princess's box of sweetmeats sent by her own page, and yet I'm as mad as Doricourt.
So it appears. What can this all mean?
Why, madame, he is at present in his perfect senses, but he'll lose them in 10 minutes through joy. The madness was only a feint to avoid marrying Miss Hardy. I'll carry him the intelligence directly.
Not for worlds. I owe him revenge now for what he has made us suffer. You must promise not to divulge a syllable I have told you, and when Doricourt is summoned to Mr. Hardy's, prevail on him to come. Madness and all.
Pray do. I should like to see him shooing off, now I am in the secret.
You must be obeyed, though it is inhuman to conceal his happiness.
I am going home, so I'll set you down at his lodgings and acquaint you, by the way, with our whole scheme. Hello.
I attend you.
You won't fail us.
Exit Savile and Mrs. Racket.
No, depend on us.
She exits. 5, scene 4. Doricourt. Doricourt is seated, reading.
What effect can the morals of fourscore have on a mind torn with passion? Is it possible such a soul as hers can support itself in so humiliating a situation? A kept woman. Well, I am glad it is so. I am glad it is so.
Enter Savile.
What a happy dog you are, Doricourt. I might have been mad or beggared or pistoled myself without it being mentioned. But you, forsooth, the whole female world is concerned for. I reported the state of your brain to 5 different women. The lip of the first trembled. The white bosom of the second heaved a sigh. The third ejaculated and turned her eye to the glass. The fourth blessed herself. The fifth said, whilst she pinned a curl, well now, perhaps he'll be an amusing companion. His native dullness was intolerable.
Envy, sheer envy by the smiles of Hebe. There are not less than 40 pair of the brightest eyes in town will drop crystals when they hear of my misfortune.
Well, but I have news for you. Poor Hardy is confined to his bed. They say he is going out of the world by the first post, and he wants to give you his blessing.
Ill? So ill? I am sorry from my soul. He's a worthy little fellow if he had not the gift of foreseeing so strongly.
Well, you must go and take leave.
What, to act the lunatic in the dying man's chamber?
Exactly the thing, and will bring your business to a short issue, for his last commands must be that you are not to marry his daughter.
It's true, by Jupiter. And yet, hang it, impose upon a poor fellow at so serious a moment. I can't do it.
You must, faith. I am answerable for your appearance, though it should be in a straight waistcoat. He knows your situation and seems the more desirous of an interview.
I don't like encountering Racket. She's an arch little devil and will scupper the cheat.
There's a fellow. Cheated 99 women and now afraid of the 100th.
And with reason, for that 100th is a widow.
They exit. Act 5, Scene 5. Hardy's. Enter Mrs. Racket and Miss Ogle.
So Miss Hardy is actually to be married tonight?
If her faith does not deceive her, you are apprised of the scheme, and we hope it will succeed.
Deuce take her. She's 6 years younger than I am. Is Mr. Dorcourt handsome?
Handsome, generous, young and rich. There's a husband for you. Isn't he worth pulling caps for?
In my conscience, the widow speaks as though she'd give caps, ears and all for him. I wonder you didn't try to catch this wonderful man, Mrs. Racket.
Really, Miss Ogle, I had not time. Besides, when I marry, so many stout young fellows will hang themselves that out of regard to society in these sad times, I shall postpone it for a few years. This will cost her a new lace. I heard it crack.
Sir George and Lady Frances.
Well, here we are. But where's the knight of woeful countenance?
Oh, here soon, I hope. For a woeful night it will be without him.
Oh, fie. Do you condescend to pun?
Why not? It requires genius to make a good pun. Some men of bright parts can't reach it. I know a lawyer who writes them on the back of his briefs and says they're of great use in a dry cause.
Flutter.
Come, here they come. Their coach stopped as mine drove off.
And Miss Hardy's fate is at a crisis. She plays a hazardous game, and I tremble for her.
Come, let me guide you. This way, my poor friend. Why are you so furious?
House of death! The house to the house of death!
Enter Dorcourt and Savile.
Ah, this is the spot.
How wild and fiery he looks.
I think he looks terrified.
Poor creature, how his eyes work.
I never saw a madman before. Let me examine him. Will he bite?
Pray, keep out of his reach, ladies. You don't know your danger. He's like a wildcat if a sudden thought seizes him.
You talk like a keeper of wildcats. How much do you demand for shoeing the monster?
I don't like this. I must rouse their sensibilities. There she darts through the air in liquid flames. Down again. Now I have her. Oh, she burns. She scorches. Oh, she eats into my very heart.
He's the apparition of the wicked Italian princess.
Behind this fast, Dorcourt.
Give her a pinch before you let her go.
I am laughed at.
Laughed at? I, to be sure. Why, I could play the madman better than you. There she is! Now I have her!
I knew that devil would discover me. I'll leave the house. I'm covered in confusion.
Stay, sir. You must not go. poorly done, Mr. Dordecourt, to affect madness rather than fulfill your engagements.
Affect madness? Savile, what can I do?
Since you are discovered, confess the whole.
Aye, turn evidence and save yourself.
Yes. Since my designs have been so unaccountably discovered, I will avow the whole. I cannot love Miss Hardy, and I will never—
Hold, my dear Dorcourt, and be not so rash. What will the world say to such a—
Damn the world! What will the world give me for the loss of happiness? Must I sacrifice my peace to please the world?
Yes, everything, rather than be branded with dishonor.
Though our arguments should fail, there is a pleader whom you surely cannot withstand. The dying Mr. Hardy supplicates you not to forsake his child.
Bless you.
Oh, Mr. Hardy requests you to grant him a moment's conversation. Mr. Dorncourt, though you should persist to send him miserable to the grave, let me conduct you to his chamber.
Aye, anywhere. To the Antipodes, to the moon. Carry me, do with me what you will.
Mortification and disappointment, then, are specifics in a case of stubbornness. I'll follow and let you know what passes.
Exit Belle'S Dordecourt, Mrs. Racket, and Miss Oak.
Ladies, have the charity to take me with you, that I may make no blunder in repeating the story.
Exit Flutter.
Sir George, you do not know Mr. Seville.
Exit Lady Frances.
10,000 pardons, but I will not pardon myself for not observing you. I have been with the utmost impatience at your door twice today.
I am concerned you had so much trouble, Sir George.
Oh, trouble, what a word! I hardly know how to address you. I am distressed beyond measure, and it is the highest proof of my opinion of your honor and the delicacy of your mind that I open my heart to you.
What has disturbed you, Sir George?
Your having preserved Lady Frances in so imminent a danger, Stark, not Seville. To protect Lady Frances was my right. You have wrested from me my dearest privilege.
I hardly know how to answer such a reproach. I cannot apologize for what I have done.
I do not mean to reproach you. I hardly know what I mean. There is one method by which you may restore peace to me. I cannot endure that my wife should be so infinitely indebted to any man who is less than my brother.
Pray, explain yourself.
I have a sister, Seville, who is amiable, and you are worthy of her. I shall give her a commission to steal your heart out of revenge for what you have done.
I am infinitely honored, Sir George, but I
cannot listen to a sentence which begins with so unpromising a word. You must go with us to Hampshire, and if you see each other with the eyes I do, your felicity will be complete. I know no one to whose heart I would so readily commit the care of my sister's happiness.
I will attend you to Hampshire with pleasure, but not on the plan of retirement. Society has claims on Lady Frances that forbid it.
Claims, Seville?
Yes, claims. Lady Frances was born to be the ornament of courts. She is sufficiently alarmed not to wander beyond the reaches of her protector. And from the British court, the most tenderly anxious husband could not wish to banish his wife. Bid her keep in her eye the bright example who presides there, the splendor of whose rank yields to the superior luster of her virtue.
I allow the force of your argument. Now for intelligence.
Enter Mrs. Racket, Lady Frances, and Flutter.
Parents, do you know?
Let me tell the story. As soon as Dorycourt...
Princess, you shan't, said Mr. Hardy.
No, 'twas Dorycourt spoke first. Says he... No, 'twas the parson. Says he...
Stop his mouth, Sir George, you'll spoil the tale.
Never heed circumstances. The result. The result.
No. You shall have it in form. Mr. Hardy performed the sick man like an angel. He sat up in his bed and talked so pathetically that the tears stood in Dorycourt's eyes.
I stood. They did not drop, but stood. I shall in future be very exact. The parson seized the moment. You know, they never miss an opportunity.
Make haste, said Dorycourt. If I have time to reflect, poor Hardy will die unhappy.
They were got as far as the day of judgment when we slipped out of the room.
Then, by this time, they must have reached amazement, which everybody knows is the end of matrimony.
The Reverend Fathers ended the service with that word prophetically to teach the bride what a capricious monster a husband is.
I rather think it was sarcastically, to prepare the bridegroom for the unreasonable humors and vagaries of his helpmate.
Here comes the bridegroom of tonight.
Enter Dorycourt and Belle'S.
Joy.
If he's a sample of bridegrooms, keep me single. A younger brother from the funeral of his father could not carry a more fretful countenance.
Oh, now he's melancholy mad, I suppose.
No, how shocking a thing it is for a man to be forced to marry one woman while his heart is devoted to another.
Well, now 'tis over. I confess to you, Mr. Dorycourt, I think 'twas a most ridiculous piece of quixotism to give up the happiness of a whole life to a man who perhaps has but a few moments to be sensible of the sacrifice.
So it appeared to me, but, thought I, Mr. Dorincourt has travelled. He knows best.
Zounds. Confusion. Did ye not all set upon me? Didn't ye talk to me of honour, compassion, justice?
Very true. You have acted according to their dictates, and I hope the utmost felicity of the married state will reward you.
Never, Sir George. To felicity I bid adieu, but I will endeavour to be content. Where is my... I must speak it. Where is my wife?
Enter Letitia, masked, led by Savile.
Mr. Dorycourt, this lady was pressing to be introduced to you.
Oh.
I told you last night you should see me at a time when you least expected me, and I have kept my promise.
Whoever you are, madam, you could not have arrived at a happier moment. Mr. Dorycourt is just married.
Married? Impossible! 'Tis but a few hours since he swore to me eternal love. I believed him, gave him up my virgin heart, and now, ungrateful sex!
Your virgin heart? No, lady. My fate, thank heaven, yet wants that torture. Nothing but the conviction that you were another's could have made me think one moment of marriage, to have saved the lives of half of mankind. But this visit, madam, is as barbarous as unexpected. It is now my duty to forget you, which, in spite of your situation, I found difficult enough.
My situation? What situation?
I must apologize for explaining it in this company, but, madam, I am not ignorant that you are the companion of Lord George Jennet, and this is the only circumstance that can give me peace.
I? A companion? Ridiculous pretense. No, sir, no, to your confusion, that my heart, my honour, my name is unspotted as hers you have married, my birth equal to your own, my fortune large. That and my person might have been yours. But, sir, farewell.
Oh, stay a moment. Rascal, Is she not?
Who? She? Oh, Lord, no. 'Twas quite a different person that I meant. I never saw that lady before.
Then never shalt thou see her more.
Have mercy upon the poor man! Heavens, he'll murder him!
Murder him? Yes, you, myself, and all mankind. Sir George, Savile, Villiers, 'twas you who pushed me on this precipice. 'Tis you who snatched me from joy, felicity, and life.
Oh, there! Now how well he acts the madman. This is something I like. I knew he would do it well enough when the time came.
Hard-hearted woman, enjoy my ruin, riot in my wretchedness.
This is too much. You are now the husband of my daughter, and how dare you show all this passion about another woman?
Alive again.
Alive. I and merry. Here, wipe off the flour from my face. I was never in better health and spirits in my life. I foresaw 'twould do. Why, my illness was only a fetch. Man, to make you marry Letty.
It was? Base and ungracious. Well, sir, you shall be satisfied. The possession of my heart was no object either with you or your daughter. My fortune and name was all you desired, and these I leave you. My native England I shall quit, nor never behold you more. But that lady, that in my exile I may have one consolation. Grant me the favour you denied last night. Let me behold all that mask conceals, that your whole image may be impressed on my heart to cheer my distant solitary hours.
This is the most awful moment of my life. Oh, Doricourt, the slight action of taking off my mask stamps me the most blessed or miserable of women.
What can this mean? Reveal your face, I conjure you.
Behold it.
Rapture, transport, heaven!
Now for a touch of the happy madman.
This scheme was mine.
I will not allow that. This little stratagem arose from my disappointment in not having made the impression on you that I wished. The timidity of the English character threw a veil over me that you could not penetrate. You have forced me to emerge in some measure from my natural reserve and throw off the veil that hid me.
I am yet in a state of intoxication. I cannot answer you. Speak on, sweet angel.
You see, I can be anything. Choose then my character. Your taste shall fix it. Shall I be an English wife? Or, breaking from the bonds of nature and education, step forth into the world with all the captivating glare of foreign manners?
You shall be nothing but yourself. Nothing can be captivating that you are not. I will not wrong your penetration by pretending that you won my heart at the first interview. But you have now my whole soul, your person, your face, your mind. I would not exchange for those of any other woman breathing.
A dog. How well he makes up for past slights. Cousin Racket, I wish you a good husband with all my heart. Mr. Flutter, I'll believe every word you say this fortnight. Mr. Villiers, you and I have managed to do this thing to a T. I never was so merry in my life. Gad, I believe I can dance.
Charming, charming creature.
Congratulate me, my dear friends. Can you conceive my happiness?
No, congratulate me. Mine is the greatest.
No, congratulate me that I have escaped with life, and give me some sticking plaster. The wild cat has torn the skin from my throat.
I expect to be among the first who are congratulated, for I have recovered one angel, while Doricourt has gained another.
Oh, pho. Don't talk of angels. We shall be happier by half as mortals. Come into the next room. I have ordered out every drop of my 48, and I'll invite the whole parish of St. George's. What will drink it out? Except 1 dozen, which I shall keep under 3 double locks for a certain christening that I foresee will happen within this 12th month.
My charming bride. It was a strange perversion of taste that led me to consider the delicate timidity of your deportment as the mark of an uninformed mind, or inelegant manners. I feel now, it is to that innate modesty English husbands owe a felicity the married men of other nations are strangers to. It is a sacred veil to your own charms. It is the surest bulwark to your husband's honor, and cursed be the hour, should it ever arrive, in which British ladies shall sacrifice to foreign graces the grace of modesty.
And play.
Nay, cease and hear me. I come to scold. Whence this night's plaudits to a thought so old? The lover hid behind a mask. What's new in that? Or where's the mighty task? For instance now, what Lady Bab or Grace e'er won a lover in her natural face? Mistake me not, French red or blanching creams, I stoop not to, for those are hackneyed themes. The arts I mean are harder to detect, easier to put on, worn to more effect. And thus do pride and envy with their horrid lines destroy the effect of nature's sweet designs. The masks of softness is at once applied, and gentlest manners ornament the bride. Do thoughts too free inform the vestal's eye, or point the glance, or warm the struggling sigh? Not Dian's brows more rigid look disclose, and virtue's blush appears where passion glows. And you, my gentle sirs, wear visors too, but here I'll strip you and expose to view your hidden features. First, I point at you. That well-stuffed waistcoat, that ruddy cheek, that ample forehead, that skin so sleek, point out good nature and a generous heart. Tyrant, stand forth, and conscious own thy part. Thy wife, thy children tremble in thy eye, and peace is banished when father's nigh. Sure 'tis enchantment. See, from every side the masks fall off. In charity I hide the monstrous features rushing to my view. Fear not, there, grandpapa, nor you, nor you. For should I shrew your features to each other, not one amongst ye'd know his friend or brother. 'Tis plain then, all the world, from youth to age, appear in masks. Here, only on the stage, you see us as we are. Here, trust your eyes. Our wish to please admits of no disguise.
Thank you for joining us for the Belle's Stratagem. A big thanks, as always, to our friend, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare. Visit him at his website, shakespeareapproves.com, or on Facebook at Shakespeare Approves, Your Friendly Neighborhood Shakespeare. Got links to all his content more in the comments of this video. A big thanks also to all of the actors who volunteered to read with us tonight. Thank you all for joining us from a billion different time zones on 4 different continents. If you enjoyed this reading, all of our past readings are available on our Facebook page and a little better organized on our website, zenithplayers.com. If you want more information on us, you can go to our, our Facebook page and our website. Send us a message. If you want to be involved in a reading like this one, send us a message there or send us the email at casting@zenithplayers.com, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I want to continue to express our support to everyone out there working to keep us healthy and safe and vaccinated. Join us next week for Allison's House by Susan Glassfull. Thank you and good night.